I was reborn on the day I went to get my marriage certificate with my commander husband, Luke Heffin. For the 10th time Luke Heffin stood me up. Just like in a past life, knowing how the story would end, I tore up the marriage report and started planning my life anew. To my surprise, Luke Heffin had also been reborn. The first thing he did after returning was to find his beloved Jeong Exian 2 years earlier and bring her back to take care of her with tender affection. Luke Heffin thought I would grovel for his love like in my past life, obediently yielding to his every whim and letting him waste my time. Too bad he was sorely mistaken. I decided long ago that I don't want him. Years later, Luke Fan went through hell and high water to show up at my wedding. Seeing me toasting hand in hand with my tall, handsome officer husband, Luke Heffin completely broke down. He asked me with red-rimmed eyes, "Jeong Lan, why did you abandon me in this life?" Everyone knew that Luke Heffin, the most promising young officer in the southern military region, was about to marry an ordinary nurse. Everyone says I'm incredibly lucky to have married someone as exceptional as Luke Heffin. I also believe that marrying Luke Heffin was a blessing from heaven. I waited for Luke Heffin for 5 hours in the marriage registration hall, my heart full of joy. Unfortunately, Luke Heffin did not show up. After I waited for him for 5 hours, his guard Xiaoyang arrived belatedly. He told me with the same sympathy as when Luke had stood me up the previous 9 times, saying that Luke had something urgent today and wouldn't be coming again. I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, clutching the completed marriage documents, my heart full of disappointment. The joy and excitement of coming were matched only by the disappointment and sorrow of leaving. Feeling down, I wasn't watching where I was going. I missed a step and tumbled down the stairs. I ended up with a bruised and bloody face. Then I was reborn, and everything from my past life flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. In my past life, after persistently chasing after him with no shred of self-respect, and after Luke Heffin stood me up more than a dozen times, we finally got our marriage certificate as we had wished. Married life isn't as sweet and wonderful as I once dreamed it would be. On the 3rd day of their marriage, Luke Heffin left for a mission. 30 days after his departure, his mother was in a car accident that resulted in amputation and paralysis too. Be a good wife and support Luke Heffin without holding him back. I quietly put away my admission letter from the National University of Defense Technology, left the military, and returned home to focus on taking care of Lu's mother. Then later, I found out I was pregnant. From the time I got pregnant to giving birth, Luke Heffin never showed up once. He was always away on assignment. By the time Luke Heffin returned, his son was already 3 years old. Luke Heffin's meritorious service led to a rapid rise through the ranks, from regimental commander to brigade commander and then to army commander, and I remained trapped at home, taking care of the children and my paralyzed mother-in-law. I can count the days I've met Luke Heffin on one hand. I spent my days revolving around the elderly and children, stuck in the kitchen, and 30 years passed in the blink of an eye. In the end, Luke Heffin's mother showed me not a shred of gratitude on her deathbed. She accused me bitterly, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't insisted on marrying Heffin, he wouldn't have taken on missions to avoid you, and I wouldn't have been in that car accident that left me paralyzed. My Heffin's life has been ruined because of you. If you have any conscience, divorce him and let him be with Jeong Exian." My college graduate son even said to me, "Mom, you're not good enough for Dad. Stop trapping him in this marriage and set him free." To my shock, I only then realized that Luke Heffin had long had a comforting presence by his side, Jeong Exian, his understanding companion. Everyone thinks I'm clinging to the title of Mrs. Luke Heffin, holding him back from being with Jeong Exian. I wasn't too upset that Luke Heffin's mother thought that way, but the son I raised with all my heart and soul actually sided with them and blamed me. After more than 30 years of dedication, it turns out to be so insignificant and laughable in their eyes. Fury drove me to confront Luke Heffin and get the truth, but I got into a car accident on the way and closed my eyes in unwillingness. My head is splitting, and I can't tell if it's the pain from the car accident's aftermath or from just falling down the stairs. The despair and rage of knowing the truth made me wipe the blood off my face, push away Xiaoyang who was supporting me, and tear the marriage report in my hands into shreds with all my strength. Xiaoyang, who had never seen me like this before, stared at me with wide eyes and an open mouth. I didn't care about Xiaoyang's expression. I just tore up the marriage report and scattered the pieces into the air too. I had my wound treated at the hospital and am now ready to head back to my place. Unexpectedly, I ran into Luke Heffin at the hospital entrance. He hastily parked the car and helped a frail, delicate young woman out of the vehicle. I recognized her at a single glance. She was Jeong Exian, the woman who, in her past life, was perfectly matched with Lu Kefin in marital harmony and was universally acknowledged as the future Mrs. Lu. In her previous life, Jiang Xian only met Lu Kefin after he married me, when she was on a mission. How did their meeting come earlier in this lifetime? My gaze fell on Jiang Xian's face, and I noticed a gash on her forehead, as if she had been hit. Lu Kefin's concern for Jiang Xian was written all over his face, and he was even ready to carry her up the steps, disregarding the propriety between men and women. Perhaps sensing my gaze, he glanced over casually and, upon seeing me with my head bandaged and clothes stained with blood, Lu Kefin froze for a moment. "What's wrong with you?" His voice sounded stern, as if he were interrogating a subordinate or someone who had done something wrong. I didn't answer him, just slowly walked down the steps. "Jiang Lan, I'm talking to you. Why aren't you answering?" Lu Kefin's tone grew harsher, but I still ignored him and just quickened my pace. A soft female voice came from behind. "Kefin, is Nurse Jiang angry because of me? If that's the case, go and explain it to her. Don't worry about her. You're injured and need to be checked out right away." I quickened my pace, leaving their intimate, concerned conversation behind. Tears welled up in my eyes. I hate myself for being so pathetic. Having lived through such a miserable life, I knew all along that my feelings for Lu Kefin were like a moth drawn to a flame, and I knew that I had no place in his heart. So why, when I see him being so gentle and attentive to other women, can I not help but feel heartbroken for him? I drifted back to my place like a ghost, running into quite a few acquaintances along the way. When they saw me, they all asked with concern about the injury on my head. Everyone could see the serious injury on my head, and they all came to ask about me with concern. Yet the man I poured all my emotions into, loving him to the point of obsession, showed not a shred of concern. Lu Kefin only had eyes for Jiang Xian, while I thought back to my past life, enduring the loneliness of an empty room, barely holding on with nothing but faith and love. Thinking about how many nights I've cried myself to sleep, soaking my pillowcase over and over again from exhaustion and longing for Lu Kefin. Thinking of Lu Kefin and Jiang Xian clinging to each other, sharing warmth and companionship, yet never giving me a shred of love or comfort, I finally gave up completely. "Lu Kefin, in this life, I won't foolishly chase after you anymore." I opened the drawer, took out a sheet of paper, spread it flat, and began writing my application for a career transfer. I joined the army as a nurse only for Lu Kefin. Now that I no longer intend to pursue him, I've decided to leave this place. Resigning from military service is the first step to take. The second step, I decided to pursue my studies. In my past life, I was painfully aware that I wasn't good enough for Lu Kefin. I've been studying hard to catch up with Lu Kefin and stand on equal footing with him. In my previous life, I took the college entrance exam and even received an admission letter from the National Defense University. I had planned to tell Lu Kefin about this surprise, but he's been too busy and never had the time. Later, Lu Kefin left on a mission, and his mother was in a car accident. I couldn't just abandon her, so I dutifully gave up the chance for further studies and became a housewife. Since I won't be marrying Lu Kefin in this life, I'll go to college and take a different path than the one I took in my past life. 3. When I went to submit my resignation for job transfer, my direct supervisor at the military hospital thought I was leaving because of marriage. "Xiao Jiang, getting married to Commander Lu doesn't mean you have to slack off at work, right? This mindset of being completely absorbed in romance just won't do. Women hold up half the sky. You can't pin your whole life on love and family. It's better for a woman to have her own career." My leader genuinely had my best interests at heart, and I sincerely thanked them. "Thank you for the reminder, but I'm not resigning because of marriage. I plan to go back to school." "Ah, congratulations, but studying will take 4 years. What about your wedding with Commander Lu? He and I won't be getting married anymore. By the way, I hope you can keep my resignation and transfer a secret. I don't want a third person to know." The leader agreed and told me that the approval would take some time, so I should go back and wait patiently. When I got back to the place, I spotted the military vehicle Lu Kefin was driving from a distance. In the 5 years I've been chasing Lu Kefin, he rarely came to my place. It was mostly me shamelessly finding all sorts of excuses to cling to him. "Is Lu Kefin actually driving here today? That's a real shocker," I was thinking to myself when I saw Jiang Xian. Jiang Xian, with a bandage on her forehead, was carefully helped out of the car by Lu Kefin. Perhaps because she was too weak, she lost her balance while getting off the car and fell into Lu Kefin's arms. Lu Kefin didn't push Jiang Xian away. Instead, He supported her with one hand while using the other to hold the key and unlock my door. I didn't know why Luke Keffin was carrying Jiang Xian to my place, so I let out a dry cough. Hearing the sound, Luke Keffin turned around and looked over. Upon seeing me, he awkwardly let go of Jiang Xian. "You're back." His voice was stiff and cold, and the way he looked at me was like I was a stranger. I felt utterly bored, so I walked past in silence without saying a word. Every time I see Luke Keffin, I act like a total fangirl, with my eyes and heart completely filled with him. Luke Keffin was displeased by her silent, unresponsive demeanor, and his expression soured even further. "Jiang Lan, you're back just in time. I have something to tell you. Comrade Jiang will be staying here with you from now on." For I was utterly astonished. Why would she stay at my place? She just transferred here and has nowhere to stay. "The company doesn't have dormitories," I retorted. "Isn't living in the company dormitory inconvenient?" I looked at the man's self-righteous face. In my past life, Luke Keffin hadn't brought Jiang Xian over, so this scene never happened. Why had so many things suddenly changed in this life? But no matter how things changed, it had nothing to do with me. I asked him indifferently, "Excuse me, if she's staying in my room, where am I supposed to go?" Let me make it clear first. I don't have a habit of living with strangers. My place was assigned to me by the hospital. After all, I've served in the military for 5 years, working diligently, enduring hardships, and always charging to the front lines for the toughest jobs. Everyone can see that the hospital leadership only just allocated me a 2-bedroom apartment, and now Luke Keffin, on his own authority, wants to let Jiang Xian live in my place. He's really got some nerve. Luke Keffin never expected me to speak like this. My refusal to live with Jiang Xian made his expression turn sour. "Jiang Lan, what's wrong with you? You have to make a fuss over such a trivial matter." "Oh, a small matter, nitpicking. But why should I be generous?" Ignoring Luke Keffin's unpleasant expression, I asked clearly and logically, "What is your relationship with Comrade Jiang? Are you Comrade Jiang's superior or a family member?" "My meaning is quite clear. Who are you to Jiang Xian that you get to run around finding her a place to stay?" Luke Keffin thought I was jealous. Fuming with anger, "Jiang Lan, what do you mean by that? Explain yourself. If you want to make things clear, then let's do it." "Who's afraid of who? As far as I know, you're not Comrade Jiang's relative, are you? So don't you think you're overstepping by jumping around arranging accommodation for her? Besides, she's here for work. The leadership will definitely handle her housing. You brought her to my place without even a heads up, wanting her to stay in my house. I really don't understand what grounds you have for that." Luke Keffin was left embarrassed by my question, and Jiang Xian's expression also soured. She shot me a sideways glance and said in a delicate, weak voice, "Since Nurse Jiang won't agree, I'll just stay in the dormitory." Luke Keffin couldn't bear that. His face darkened as he pulled me aside. "What exactly are you making a fuss about? Jiang Lan, I'm telling you, letting Comrade Jiang stay here, whether you agree or not, you have to accept it. That's an order. Command me." "How ridiculous. I'm not his subordinate. What gives him the right to order me around, by habit, or by his face?" I replied coldly, "Your orders are invalid." Luke Keffin was furious when he saw that I wouldn't listen to reason. "Jiang Lan, think it over. If you refuse me and fail to uphold the selfless spirit expected of a military spouse, then our marriage plans will have to be reconsidered." 5. Is this a threat, using marriage against me, and to humiliate me like this in front of Jiang Xian? I clearly saw the amusement in Jiang Xian's eyes. She was delighted that Luke Keffin treated me this way. What was she expecting? I withdrew my gaze from Jiang Xian and looked at Luke Keffin coldly, enunciating each word with crystal clarity. "Even if Commander Liu hadn't come to me, I was planning to talk to you about this. To be honest, I'm just a nurse, not worthy of Commander Liu. This marriage was me reaching above my station. I'd deeply realized my mistake and was ready to make things clear with Commander Liu. Now that Commander Liu also thinks we don't need to get married, let's end all ties between us starting from now." Luke Keffin's expression was as sour as if he'd swallowed a fly. He said sternly, "Jiang Lan, do you know what you're saying?" "I know exactly what I'm saying, Commander Liu. It was all my fault before. I shamelessly clung to you and pressured you. That won't happen again. Let's settle this now. And from now on, we can each marry whoever we want without interfering with each other." Having said all that, I thought Luke Keffin would definitely go with the flow and agree to part ways with me. Little did I expect that Luke Keffin wouldn't agree to break up with me face to face. Instead, he glared at me as if he wanted to devour me while we were at a standoff. Jiang Xian fainted from weakness. Luke Keffin, feeling sorry for her, immediately took her to the hospital. I walked into the room without any particular emotion. We've already burned bridges and laid everything out in the open, making the breakup so painfully clear. I know full well that Luke Heffin and I have tacitly parted ways. I have no time for sentimental melancholy over the changing seasons. Right now, my top priority is to raise the tuition fees for college while waiting for the admission letter to arrive. I've really gone to great lengths over the past few years to marry Luke Heffin. I paid for all the furniture, bedding, and kitchenware in our wedding home with my own salary. I was the only one putting in all the effort, slaving away to prepare everything for the wedding, while Luke Heffin just played the absentee boss, not lifting a finger or asking a single question. I scrimped and saved for 5 years, and all my wages went into the wedding. I only managed to save a few hundred bucks. A few hundred bucks definitely won't cover 4 years of tuition and living expenses. I'll have to find another way to scrape together some more money. I plan to sell all the things I've prepared for my wedding so I can scrape together some money. Without further ado, I headed to my and Luke Heffin's wedding home the next day and started selling things. All the furniture, bedding, and kitchenware are brand new. To get cash quickly, I sold them for much less than what I paid. There were quite a few newlyweds in the military preparing for their weddings, and the bedding I picked out was really beautiful. It was the first item to sell. Next to sell were the pots and pans, and finally the big-ticket items. The large items are quite heavy and relatively expensive. I've already discussed it with Coach Gao, who wants to buy them. He's coming tomorrow to move the cabinet. He'll pay me half up front, and the rest after the cabinet is moved. Anyway, the stuff is sold, and my college tuition is taken care of. I was actually quite happy inside. It was already quite late when I got back to my place, so I grabbed a bowl of wontons from a roadside shop for dinner before heading home. Walking while lost in thought, I happened to look up and was surprised to see the light on in my window, and then I noticed the car parked at the door. 6 Lou Keffin is at my place again. What the hell does he want? I pushed the door open in a few quick strides and bumped straight into Luke Keffin, who was about to head out. What are you doing at my house? Luke Keffin noticed my awkward expression and said, I'm just here to grab something. What is it? I pressed on. How strange. In the past, no matter how many times I invited Luke Keffin, he would always come to my place with reluctance. Now that we'd broken up, he actually came running over to my place and even took things from my home. My gut told me something was off. With a stern face, I reached out my hand to Luke Keffin. Captain Lou, we're already broken up. Give me back the key to my place right now. Luke Keffin pursed his lips, a hint of anger flickering across his face. Know when to stop, Jiang Lan. Throwing around the word breakup too often is pointless. If I take it seriously, the consequences are something you can't handle. I laughed in anger. Who's joking with you? Breaking up is something I've thought through carefully. Give me back my house key right now. I thought Luke Keffin, with his pride, would take out the key and toss it disdainfully in front of me, but instead he didn't do that and said, I know why you're mad. Isn't it just because I didn't go get the marriage certificate with you yesterday? I had an urgent matter yesterday. Comrade John's family had an issue, and I was busy handling it, so I stood you up. That was my fault, and I apologize. How about this? We'll find time tomorrow to get the certificate, and then you'll be over it, right? Even now, Luke Keffin still thinks getting the marriage certificate with me is a favor to me. I couldn't help but laugh. Captain Lou, we broke up yesterday. I, Jiang Lan, have no interest in getting a marriage certificate with you, and I will never do so. Right now, I only care about one thing. What are you doing in my home? And give me back my house key immediately. Jiang Lan, are you serious? Luke Keffin finally sensed something was wrong. He glared at me fiercely, and I met his gaze coldly. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Luke Keffin backed down. He shoved me aside and headed out. I chased after him, shouting, give me back the keys. Luke Keffin completely ignored me, got into the car, started the engine, and drove away. I was shaking with rage. I have no idea why he refused to return my keys. Luke Keffin had already left, so I had no choice but to go back inside. When I pushed open the bedroom door, I found that my drawer was actually open. My heart sank. I rushed over and took a look. The 500 yuan I had put in the drawer was gone. 7 Luke Keffin took the 500 yuan I had in my drawer without even asking. This is something I never even dreamed of. I saved this 500 yuan for the wedding banquet with Luke Keffin, and I've already discussed it with him. I never expected Luke Keffin to take my money. Come to think of it, Luke Keffin's allowance and salary are both higher than mine, so why would he take the money I saved myself? Isn't this theft? If I had known Luke Keffin would take my money, I should have changed the lock. Now it's too late to say anything. I tossed and turned all night, too angry to sleep. The first thing I did when I got up in the morning was to go buy a lock and change the door lock. Then I rushed to the wedding house to continue selling the big items. After Coach Gao moved out the cabinets and wardrobes and gave me the remaining money, I was about to leave the wedding house as well. Unexpectedly, Lu Kefan actually brought Jiang Xian along. Jiang Xian, looking frail and delicate, was being supported by Lu Kefan. She never expected to see me here. Lu Kefan's face darkened. What are you doing here? And by the way, why did you change the lock on your place? It's my home, and I'll change it however I want. What's it to you? I shot back, thinking about the 500 yuan that Lu Kefan had taken. I asked him bluntly, did you take the money from my drawer? Yes, Lu Kefan admitted. Why did you take my money? I mean, I need it urgently, don't I? Even if you're in urgent need, you can't just take my money without asking, right? That's my savings, and it has nothing to do with you. Lu Kefan, give my money back right now. Lu Kefan's expression was extremely grim. The Jiang Xian he was supporting let out a few delicate coughs. Nurse Jiang, I'm so sorry, it's all my fault. Kefan lent the money to me because I had an urgent need, but I can't pay you back right now. So Lu Kefan gave all the money I worked so hard to save to Jiang Xian. I was absolutely furious watching Jiang Xian put on that innocent act. How dare Lu Kefan use my money to suck up to Jiang Xian? I have no reason to pick a fight with Jiang Xian. After all, the one who took my money was Lu Kefan. Without even looking at Jiang Xian's disgusting expression, I turned to Lu Kefan and said, taking my money without permission is theft. Lu Kefan, give my money back to me right now. 8. Lu Kefan never expected me to show him no face at all. A flicker of shame and anger crossed his face as he said, what can you do if I don't give it back? That's ridiculous, that's my money, and taking it without asking is theft. If you don't give it back, I'll call the police. Lu Kefan looked at me with an incredulous gaze. What, Jiang Lan, are you out of your mind? I'm not crazy, Lu Kefan, we've already broken up. You came into my home without permission and took my money. That's against the law. As a leader, you know the law but still break it. Don't you feel any shame? Kefan didn't mean it. It's all because of me. It's all my fault. Jiang Xian interjected tearfully. Nurse Jiang, if you're angry, take it out on me. Hit me, scold me if you want. Comrade Jiang, you're hilarious. I have no relation to you whatsoever. We're complete strangers. You've never done anything wrong to me. So what reason would I have to hit or curse you? It was all to help me that Kefan touched your money. I'm the one to blame. Don't make things hard for Kefan. If you have a problem, take it out on me. Fine, then give me back the money Lu Kefan gave you. Just return my money, and everything will be fine. Jiang Lan, Lu Kefan let out a furious roar, and I sneered, what are you yelling about? Did I say anything wrong? I just want my money. What do the other things have to do with me? Can't I just consider it a loan from you? I'll pay you back later. Lu Kefan finally lowered his proud head. When will later be? I pressed, you're not just giving me a hollow promise, are you? How did you turn out like this? I'll give you the money. If you don't trust me, I'll write you an IOU. Alright, let's write an IOU then. With that, I took out a pen and paper and handed them to Lu Kefan. The repayment shouldn't be delayed too long. It's best if you can pay me back within a month. The look Lu Kefan gave me was hard to describe. I stared him down coldly without flinching, until his face flushed red and he snatched the pen to write the IOU. I reminded him, leave a fingerprint here, just in case you try to deny it later. Lu Kefan pressed his fingerprint with gritted teeth, almost gnashing them in anger. I took the IOU, slipped it into my pocket, and turned to leave without a word. Just as he reached the corner of the stairs, he heard hurried footsteps behind him. Then came Lu Kefan's furious voice, Jiang Lan, where did all the beds and furniture in this room go? 9. Lu Kefan, supporting Jiang Xian, bumped into me right at the door, so focused on trading barbs with me, he didn't notice that something was missing from the room. It wasn't until he was about to help the frail Jiang Xian sit down that he realized the furniture had vanished without a trace. There wasn't even a place to sit. Lu Kefan, both shocked and furious, immediately chased after me to ask. I turned my head and answered casually, I sold it. His face was filled with shock. What do you mean? Why did you sell all the furniture we bought for our wedding? Why did you make such a decision without even consulting me? I let out a scoff. I paid for it, so I'll do whatever I want with it. Why would I need your opinion? Ignoring Lu Kefan's stunned expression, I turned around and walked away. Behind her, Jiang Xian's voice came through, choked with tears. Kefan, it's all my fault. Nurse Jiang, and you had a falling out because of me. I shouldn't have come. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's hers. Lu Kefin gently comforted Jiang Xian. Ha. I let out a silent sneer and quickened my pace, getting the hell out of that place. It wasn't until I went to work the next day that I heard from Xiao Zhang, a nurse I work with, that Lu Kefin had spent a whole day and night at the hospital taking care of the delicate Jiang Xian. Xiao Zhang really disliked Jiang Xian. I heard she graduated from some prestigious university and is supposedly a great doctor, but she doesn't look like one at all. She just had a tiny scratch on her head, nothing wrong with her, yet she made a fuss. At the hospital for 2 days, getting medicine and even staying overnight, I just smiled and said nothing. Thinking about it, I felt so pathetic. Back when I had a 39-degree fever and wanted Lu Kefin to take me to the doctor, he called me delicate and told me to go to the hospital myself. I also thought that a qualified military wife shouldn't be delicate, so I learned to be strong. But it turns out Lu Kefin just didn't love me and was making excuses. In his eyes, even a tiny scratch on Jiang Xian was enough to make a huge fuss. That's how clear the line is between love and indifference. Luckily, I've already gotten over it, and I feel completely at peace, not the least bit upset. Xiao Zhang was furious. By the way, that Jiang Xian didn't even have the qualifications to get into our hospital in the first place. It was only because your commander Lu put in a word that she was kept on. She's so delicate, refusing to live in the dormitory, complaining it's not spacious enough. In our hospital, accommodation is assigned based on workability and seniority. The leadership said they couldn't arrange a single room for her, so in the end, Commander Lu took her away, saying he'd find somewhere else to settle her. So Lu Kefin brought Jiang Xian back to the wedding house he shares with me. Does he actually want her to live there? Good thing I had the foresight to sell off everything I bought with my own money, or else Jiang Xian would have gotten it all for free. A nameless joy welled up inside me, and an involuntary smile crept across my face. Xiao Zhang looked at me in confusion. Jiang Lan, why do you have that expression? Are you laughing out of anger? After all, your fiancé is being so good to another woman. How can you still smile? Let me tell you, Jiang Lan, you need to have a serious talk with your commander Lu. I stopped smiling and told Xiao Zhang, Lu Kefin's matters have nothing to do with me. He and I are no longer together. What? Xiao Zhang was stunned. You broke up? Weren't you two about to get married? I'm not getting married. Lu Kefin and I have already broken up, so don't link me with him anymore. The wedding house has no furniture and is uninhabitable. Lu Kefin even took all my money and gave it to Jiang Xian. He couldn't afford to buy anything for Jiang Xian for the time being, so in the end, she had no choice but to move into the hospital dormitory 10. The hospital doesn't have single occupancy dormitories. Everyone has to squeeze in together. Jiang Xian was sent over by Lu Kefin. In front of Lu Kefin, she acted all delicate and fragile, but the moment he left, she became a completely different person. She bossily ordered her dorm mates to make her bed, and told them that the hospital she was assigned to was originally in the capital. Lu Kefin had specifically called her over. He had even gone to her hometown on her behalf to break off the child marriage her family had arranged. The childhood betrothal her family arranged was a complete scoundrel who refused to break off the engagement no matter what. And Lu Kefin ended up losing a lot of money over it. These words reached my ears verbatim, and I just smiled knowingly. A thought just crossed my mind. Since I can be reborn, could Lu Kefin have been reborn too? So the first thing he did after being reborn was to find Jiang Xian ahead of time and bring her to his side to take care of her. Could Jiang Xian have also been reborn, just like us? Did she know that Lu Kefin would rise to a position of power and influence in the future, so she gave up everything to follow him here and become a military doctor? Of course, this is all just my speculation. Lu Kefin and I have already cleared things up. His affairs have nothing to do with me, and I don't care at all. I just never expected that after a few peaceful days, I would see Lu Kefin at my doorstep again. Lu Kefin was standing by the car, smoking. When he saw me, he stubbed out his cigarette. A faint smile even appeared on his face. You're back. Instead of answering, I asked him back. Here. To pay me back, give me the money, and I'll give you the IOU right away. Lu Kefin never expected me to react this way, his expression freezing instantly. Jiang Lan, you. I stared at him coldly, my face expressionless. Lu Kefin met my gaze, but all he saw in my eyes was indifference. He finally backed down. Let's talk. No need, we've broken up, there's nothing to talk about. Jiang Lan, I know you're upset with me because of Jiang Xian. It's not what you think. Between her and me, we have Nothing going on, Lu Kefin carefully chose his words. Jiang Xian, she's a good person. Her family situation is a bit complicated, she's a very promising surgeon, but her family has been through a lot. I just couldn't bear to see her end up unable to even hold a scalpel, so I helped her. In her previous life, Jiang Xian had always been a wellness doctor following behind Lu Kefin. I heard she graduated from a prestigious medical university and was originally meant to become an outstanding surgeon. But she injured her hand later on, making it impossible to hold a scalpel, so she had to settle for being a chief's personal physician. This is something I learned about Jiang Xian through hearsay in my past life. How did Lu Kefin know that she wouldn't be able to hold a scalpel? I am absolutely certain that Lu Kefin has returned. In his past life, he spent every day with Jiang Xian and knew everything she had been through. So this time he saved her in advance. What a wonderful and great love. The first thing Lu Kefin did when he came back was to stand me up to save his beloved. I should be applauding and cheering for their love. It's just a pity that I'm the victim, so I can't be happy for them. I coldly cut off Lu Kefin. You don't need to tell me about you and Jiang Xian. I'm not interested. We've broken up, and the only thing connecting us now is that I owe you. Lu Kefin didn't expect me to remain so stubborn even after he had said all that. Jiang Lan, are you sure you want to talk to me like this? What else do you expect me to say to you? Chief Lu, I made a well-considered decision to break up with you. This isn't some game of playing hard to get. I don't have the time or the energy for that. To avoid any unnecessary trouble, please don't show up in front of me again. Chief Lu, a golden boy like Lu Kefin had never been treated with such coldness by me before. His face almost turning green, he said through gritted teeth, word by word, Jiang Lan, you'll regret this. Don't worry, I will never regret it. I slaved away in my past life only to be betrayed like that. Only an idiot would regret leaving. I moved past Lu Kefin without a pause and closed the door. When he left, I neither noticed nor cared. 12. After that night, I started seeing Lu Kefin quite often. He keeps showing up at the hospital and running into me every few days. I knew he was here for Jiang Xian. To avoid any unnecessary trouble, every time I spotted Lu Kefin from a distance, I would step aside and make way for him in advance. I know very well that all I need to do now is stay away from Lu Kefin, calmly wait for my university admission letter to arrive, and wait for the approval of my job transfer and resignation application before leaving this place. Lu Kefin must have lost his mind. I was avoiding him, but he actually tracked me down to the nurse's station. I didn't want to have anything more to do with him, so I directly asked Lu Kefin for money in front of other colleagues. This made Lu Kefin very embarrassed. He never came to see me again, but every few days he had the guard Xiaoyan deliver things to me. Naturally, I wouldn't accept them and sent them all back. Jiang Xian came to see me twice, her words dripping with sarcasm. She said that since I had broken up with Lu Kefin, I should make a clean break and stop dragging things out. I treat her like she's invisible. If she's not blind, she should know that Lu Kefin came to me, not the other way around. Besides, Lu Kefin and I don't need her meddling in our affairs. As much as I tried to avoid paying attention to Lu Kefin and Jiang Xian's affairs, the circle is just too small, and news about them still occasionally reaches my ears. Nurse Xiao Zhang is a lively and well-informed person who often tells me about Lu Kefin and Jiang Xian. Chief Lu came to the hospital again today to handle a dispute for Jiang Xian. Speaking of which, Jiang Xian is really ridiculous. A student from a prestigious university, yet she still managed to mess up a routine surgery. Oh, by the way, Jiang Xian doesn't want to live in the dormitory. I heard she'll be moving out soon, but the hospital can't allocate her an apartment. Since Commander Lu visits the hospital so often, everyone suspects she'll move in with him. Jiang Lan, why aren't you angry? Have you really decided to break up with Commander Lu? This is the 8 treasure porridge that Commander Lu's guard Xiaoyang brought for you. It seems Commander Lu doesn't want to part ways with you, does he? By the way, I saw Jiang Xian crying on the slide today. She got scolded by Commander Lu. I just smiled at Xiao Zhang's gossip and told him firmly, Lu Kefin and I will only get back together when pigs fly. Time flew by, and finally, I received my university admission letter. The day I received the admission letter, I was over the moon. I even bought candies to share with the nurses I worked with. I never expected Jiang Xian to show up while I was handing out candy. She stood at the nurse station entrance and called me by my full name. Jiang Lan, come out here, I have something to ask you. Although Jiang Xian has been working here for a while, I've never had any work-related interactions with her, so I'm not quite sure why she's looking for me. I followed Jiang Xian outside, and before I could steady myself, she slapped me across the face. 13 I was caught off guard by a slap to the face, and in my fury, I didn't think twice before slapping back. Jiang Xian screamed, "He's hitting someone. Jiang Lan is hitting someone." I stared in shock as she tore off her clothes in a few quick moves, plopped down on the ground, and burst into uncontrollable sobs. This incident quickly caught the attention of the hospital administration. Jiang Xian and I were called in for a talk, and she accused me of slandering her by spreading rumors about her behind her back, ruining her reputation. She claimed it made it impossible for her to work at the hospital, as she was constantly gossiped about for having an affair. I had done nothing of the sort. I was more wronged than Doi herself. When Jiang Xian was tearfully recounting her story, Lu Kefan arrived. He believed her words after just a few tears. He stood up for Jiang Xian and ordered me, "Jiang Lan, apologize. I haven't done it, so why would I apologize? Even Lu Kefan's threats won't change that. I won't apologize, so we're at a standoff. Even the boss trying to smooth things over is useless." Lu Kefan was furious. "Jiang Lan, you're too faced and utterly despicable. You're a woman yourself. Don't you realize how much trouble your backstabbing words will cause?" Jiang Xian, "Let me tell you, the military region is cracking down on ideological education right now. If you don't apologize, I won't hesitate to have you locked up for a few days." Lu Kefan would twist black into white for Jiang Xinbai. Such profound devotion. I know I can't afford to offend Lu Kefan. If he really gives me a hard time and slaps me with a disciplinary mark on my record, the consequences would be unimaginable. Under Lu Kefan's coercion, I humiliatingly chose to apologize. Jiang Xian was smug and triumphant, while I bowed my head in utter humiliation. Lu Kefan said that I had ruined Jiang Xian's reputation, making it impossible for her to stay in the hospital. He told me to get things ready so Jiang Xian could move into my place, claiming that this compensation would also show the sincerity of my apology. "So it's all about my house. You've really gone to great lengths for this." I said nothing and just nodded in agreement. I left the hospital and immediately went back to pack my luggage. I've thrown away everything I bought at home, and given away whatever could be given to others. Just like the wedding house I left for Lu Kefan, I left Jiang Xian an empty shell. My resignation and job transfer application will be approved in a few days, so I've moved into the hospital dormitory, ready to leave as soon as it goes through. That very night, Lu Kefan actually showed up at the dormitory. I didn't want to see him, but he kept calling out and knocking on the door from outside to avoid disturbing the others resting in the dorm. I had no choice but to go see Lu Kefan. Lu Kefan's face darkened. "You, Jiang Lan, you really are 14, what's wrong with me?" "Chief Lu, I've already apologized as you asked. What more do you want from me?" Lu Kefan's face turned livid as I left him speechless. "Jiang Lan, you really know how to push it. I told you to free up some space for Jiang Xian to stay, not to strip the whole house bare. Why do you have to pull this stunt again? I have the right to decide what to do with the things I bought, don't I? Besides, you only said to let her have the house, not to leave her the things I purchased." "Alright, Jiang Lan, stop messing around. I know you're upset, but let's just drop it here. Come with me." As he spoke, he reached for my hand, but I yanked it away. "What do you think you're doing? Keep your hands to yourself." Seeing me ruthlessly pull my hand away, Lu Kefan's eyes flickered with a hurt expression. He is not an easygoing person, especially when it comes to me. He has a particularly bad temper. Losing face repeatedly in front of me lately has really bruised Lu Kefan's ego. Suppressing his anger, he ordered me, "Pack your things and come with me right now. From now on, you're moving in with me." "Why would I live with you? We're not related, so what are you thinking?" "I don't want to." "What? You're saying no?" My refusal made Lu Kefan lose face, though there was a time when I would have done anything to get close to him. Now that I had the audacity to refuse his generous offer to move in with him, Lu Kefan was visibly about to lose his temper again. I stared at him coldly, my expression and eyes leaving no doubt about my unwillingness. He took a breath, suppressing his anger. "Whether you like it or not, you're moving. If you keep living in the dorm, what will people think of Jiang Xian? Aren't you just giving others another excuse to badmouth her? Right now, because of you, everyone outside is saying that Jiang Xian ruined our relationship, so to calm the public gossip, you have to move in with me." He really went to great lengths for Jiang Xian, but I'm not willing, am I? I'm a pure and respectable young woman too, so why should I be the one to move in with him? I couldn't help asking him, "What does it mean for me to move in with you when we have no relationship at all? Don't I care about my reputation? We're about to get married and become husband and wife, that's an unshakable fact. Why should we care about public opinion? But I don't want to marry you, Luke Keffin. I don't want to marry you at all. What? Say that again. Luke Keffin glared at me menacingly under pressure. I repeated, I don't want to marry you. I haven't wanted to marry you for a long time. Luke Keffin stared at me with bloodshot eyes, and I had a feeling he would hit me the next second. Fear made me step back several paces seeing my reaction. Luke Keffin let out a heavy sigh. I'll take that as something you said in the heat of the moment. Jiang Lan, if you don't marry me, who will you marry? Don't say things out of anger. I know I've been neglecting you before. Can't I just apologize? I'll keep my distance from Jiang Xian from now on. Please don't be mad. Luke Keffin's apology caught me off guard. Is this a sign of the impossible happening? But I am not moved at all, and I will never forgive him after all. He forced me to apologize and admit my mistake to Jiang Xian. From that moment on, all my feelings for him vanished completely. Seeing that I still wasn't ready to move out with him, Luke Keffin's patience ran out. Jiang Lan, you have to come with me right now. Even if it's for Jiang Xian's reputation, you must come with me. 15. I was forced to move into Luke Keffin's home. It was a 3-bedroom apartment. He occupied the master bedroom, the second bedroom was empty, and the third room housed his bodyguard. Since moving in, I've locked myself in the spare bedroom and haven't stepped out even once. In the morning, Luke Keffin came knocking on my door to have breakfast together. He personally bought xiaobing, youtiao, and soy milk. Luke Keffin and I sat across from each other, eating breakfast in silence, without a single word exchanged. Then came a knock at the door, followed by a sweet, coquettish voice. Keffin, are you home? The door was pushed open, and Jiang Xian walked in carrying a bag. Seeing me and Luke Keffin sitting at the dining table, her expression instantly froze. It was obvious that she came here often, but she never expected to see me. An eerie silence fell. I drained the soy milk in front of me, stood up, and walked out without a word. Luke Keffin chased after me and grabbed my hand, asking, where are you going? Going to work. Do I need to report to you, Chief Lu? Just for that, I sarcastically asked, even using a respectful title for Luke Keffin, and his expression turned very sour. He wanted to say something, but I didn't give him a chance. I simply shook off Luke Keffin's hand and strode away. After working at the hospital all morning, Xiao Zhang told me during the lunch break, have you heard that Homewrecker came to the hospital with puffy eyes today? Fox Spirit was Xiao Zhang's private nickname for Jiang Xian, and I responded with a cold, indifferent oh, puffy eyes. Would Luke Keffin let his beloved cry? Xiao Zhang lowered his voice even more. Oh, and here's a bombshell. I just found out that Homewrecker faked her academic credentials. What do you mean? I asked, taken aback. My cousin knows that vixen. She said she never graduated from any prestigious university, just some ordinary nursing school. She doesn't have the skills to be a lead surgeon at all. No way. It's true. She only performed one minor surgery at the hospital, and she messed it up. Ever since, she's been making excuses to avoid doing any more. Now everyone's saying behind her back that she doesn't have the skills to back it up. After hearing what Xiao Zhang said, I started to have my doubts. If what he said is true, then Jiang Xian really does have a problem, doesn't she? I wonder what Luke Keffin would think if he found out that the one he has a crush on is actually this kind of person. I told Xiao Zhang not to spread this around. Jiang Xian is now the apple of Luke Keffin's eye. If this somehow gets back to her and she latches onto it, we'll be in a real mess. I never expected that my words would turn out to be a prophecy, but the unlucky one wasn't Xiao Zhang. It turned out to be me. Jiang Xian actually blamed me for all those rumors about her outside and came storming over to confront me. 16. Having been burned before, I'm afraid Jiang Xian might try to pull a fast one on me. I kept my distance whenever I saw Jiang Xian. For every step she took forward, I took 3 steps back. Jiang Xian saw how guarded I was against her and was so furious that she ground her teeth in anger. Jiang Lan, was it you spreading rumors outside that my diploma is fake? Let me tell you, defaming others recklessly will be punished by law. I shot back, since you're so well versed in the law, you should also know that falsely accusing someone without any evidence is illegal, right? Jiang Xian smirked triumphantly. I know that, but what can you do about it? After all, Keffin has always been on my side. He only believes me. What do you think he would do to you if I went crying to him, telling him you've been slandering and defaming me behind my back? This is pushing it too far, treating threats against me as if they're routine. Even a clay figurine has a temper, let alone someone who isn't one. Then go tell him, you want Luke Keffin to stand up for you. Why didn't you go to Luke Keffin instead of coming to me? Jiang Xian was choked by my words and said sullenly, "You think I wouldn't dare? I'm giving you a chance, Jiang Lan. You'd better stop spreading rumors about me right now and tell your little clique to quit badmouthing me, or else you'll be sorry." Jiang Xian's bluffing act was utterly ridiculous, and I sneered, "Why are you so sure I started the rumor? There's a saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know a thing about your education or whether you can perform surgeries. If I were falsely accusing you, you could easily go to the higher-ups to clear your name, so why come to me?" Jiang Xian's face flushed red. "I'm only talking to you out of respect for Kefin. I'm giving you a chance. Stop slandering me right now. I'm afraid I can't agree to that, since your affairs have nothing to do with me. Since you've come to me, let me give you some advice. Rumors cease at the wise. If you've been upright and honest, you have nothing to fear from an investigation, right?" Watching Jiang Xian's ever-changing expression, I added, "By the way, the rumors about you and Lu Kefin, you spread them yourself, didn't you? You wanted to frame me with that, to make Lu Kefin hate me and punish me, right?" At this point, Jiang Xian dropped the act. "So what if I am? Weren't you forced to apologize to me, Jiang Lan? Let's not beat around the bush. Kefin and I truly love each other. If you know what's good for you, stay away from Lu Kefin, or you'll be in for a world of trouble. I'm telling you, when I get ruthless, I'll ruin your reputation, then I'll wait and see how you plan to ruin my reputation." I laughed. "Jiang Xian, by now I've basically figured out what kind of person you are. I fully understand your intentions and motives. You were putting on an act, claiming you were being slandered and defamed, just so you wouldn't have to live in the dorm and could move in with Lu Kefin, right? Too bad things didn't go as you planned. Lu Kefin didn't take you in. Instead, he gave you my apartment. Your plan wasn't exactly a success. You thought Lu Kefin would turn his back on me because of this, and you thought you could legitimately stay by his side from then on, but you never expected that Lu Kefin wouldn't do what you wanted. Do you know why Lu Kefin didn't follow your plan? Why?" Jiang Xian blurted out. 17. She realized she had misspoken the moment the words left her mouth and wanted to take it back, but I didn't give her the chance. Because Lu Kefin is a chief, he didn't get to where he is today for love or romance. He's a man in power, the best at reading the room and weighing his options. When you spread rumors about him to frame me, you should have realized that if he took you in to live at his place, wouldn't that just confirm that there's something shady between you two? A man like Lu Kefin would never let himself be tainted by a stain like that. Jiang Xian suddenly realized what I meant. She was indeed the woman Lu Kefin truly loved, but she doesn't know Lu Kefin as well as I do. His rise to the top wouldn't have been possible without his hard work. Someone like Lu Kefin, who held a high position in his past life and loved Jiang Xian so deeply, still chose not to divorce me. Instead, he kept Jiang Xian by his side, maintaining an ambiguous relationship. He must be considering more than just love and affection. He has to think about his reputation and the consequences of divorcing me. I am his wife who stood by him through thick and thin. If Lu Kefin divorces me without any fault on my part, what will others think of him? How can he command respect through moral integrity in the future? So in my past life, Lu Kefin never once brought up divorcing me to marry Jiang Xian, not even until my death. And in this life, Lu Kefin is at the peak of his career. There's absolutely no way he would break up with me to be with Jiang Xian. He has to consider many uncertain factors: his competitors, the political review he must face, his fear that I might cause trouble, and his dread that his future could be ruined. So, for now, he can only settle me down and wait for an opportunity. Unfortunately, Jiang Xian failed to understand Lu Kefin's true feelings and actually thought that the reason she couldn't be with him was because of me. I am utterly disgusted by Lu Kefin and Jiang Xian. What the hell do they mean by flaunting themselves in front of me so repulsively? You want me to stay silent and be their shield? I can't compete with Lu Kefin, but I can't let Jiang Xian push me around either, can I? I kept provoking Jiang Xian. You went to Lu Kefin's place early in the morning to suck up. Never expected to see me there, did you? What was going through your mind at that moment? Heartbroken to the point of death, right? Jiang Xian's face turned as red and ugly as a piece of liver. I laughed. Let me guess what Lu Kefin said to you this morning. Did he not appreciate your concern for him, so you felt wronged and cried? Then, after arriving at the hospital, you saw everyone pointing fingers at you, so you came to me to seek validation and continue trying to frame and slander me. Caught off guard, Jiang Xian glared at me with venomous resentment. I let out a sarcastic laugh. If you were really wronged, you didn't need to come to me at all. You could have shut all this down yourself. if people question your credentials, just slap your certificates in their faces. And if they say you don't have the guts to operate or lack real skill, just perform a major surgery yourself to show them. Wouldn't that clear your name? Jiang Xian's expression was unreadable, and I could see guilt flickering in her eyes. So, is everything Xiao Zhang said really true? Is it true that Jiang Xian faked her academic credentials and can't perform surgery at all? Speaking of which, all the lead surgeons at our hospital earned their positions through genuine skill, not to mention the doctors. Even the regular nurses are 1 in 1,000. Only Jiang Xian was forced in by Lu Kefan. Jiang Xian got in through the back door. She has been working at the hospital for over half a month. For the past 2 weeks, Jiang Xian has never produced anything convincing. She kept making excuses to avoid consultations and surgeries. Actually, until today, I never suspected that the reason she avoided them was because she didn't know how to do them. I thought Jiang Xian really turned it down due to health reasons. Now, looking at Jiang Xian's face and seeing her trying to frame and slander me again, it suddenly dawned on me that she might really be up to something. Not only is she incapable of performing surgery and has a forged academic degree, but she also has serious issues with her character. After all, she can slander me without batting an eye. With all the rumors going around, if Jiang Xian really had the skills, she wouldn't need to be afraid at all. She could have proven her innocence with just one surgery, but she never did that. Instead, she only knows how to come after me. All these signs make me more and more convinced that Jiang Xian is feeling guilty. The fact that she managed to pull the wool over everyone's eyes for 2 lifetimes must mean she has her own unique way of doing it. In her past life, she said she was injured by someone and couldn't undergo surgery on her hand, but in this life, her hand is perfectly fine now. No one has harmed her, so why won't she have the surgery? Could it be that even her hand injury from the so-called past life was a lie? If that's the case, I'll have to be more careful from now on. I don't want any accidents happening in these final days before I leave. 18. Jiang Xian's face disgusts me and also sends chills down my spine. I don't want anything to go wrong so close to my departure. Since Jiang Xian wants Lu Kefan, I'll just stay away from him. I applied for the night shift to avoid running into Lu Kefan. I tried my best to stay out of trouble, but trouble still came looking for me. Lu Kefan, who had always been cold and distant with me, seemed like a completely different person. He actually came to visit me at work in the evening and brought me a late-night snack. My headache was so excruciating that I gave away all the midnight snacks Lu Kefan brought to the nurses on duty. After Lu Kefan came to visit me at the hospital for the 3rd night in a row, I ran into Jiang Xian the next morning. Even from a dozen meters away, I could feel the murderous intent in her eyes. Jiang Xian hates me, and not just a little. I groaned inwardly. I didn't want to provoke Jiang Xian, but she was definitely not going to let it go. To be on the safe side, I need to plan ahead. I was secretly on guard, but the accident still happened. That day, I took leave to go to the station to buy a train ticket. My supervisor told me that my application for military to civilian transfer and resignation would be approved in 3 days. This good news filled me with joy, so I asked my boss for leave and went to the train station to buy a ticket. On my way back with the train ticket, I unexpectedly ran into Lu Kefan's mother. This is the first time I've seen Lu Kefan's mother since I was reborn. She wasn't paralyzed or amputated, and she looked quite energetic. When she saw me, Lu Kefan's mother called out to stop me. Jiang Lan, we need to talk. In my past life, before I married Lu Kefan, his mother never really liked me. She looked down on my job, despised the fact that I was an orphan, and believed I wasn't good enough for her son, the commander's child. Before the wedding, Mother Lu didn't like me, and even after losing her leg in a car accident, she still didn't like me. Even if I were to wait on her hand and foot, humbling myself to the very core, she still wouldn't like me. She has always believed that her amputation was my fault, that my bad fortune in the Chinese zodiac caused her to end up like this. Lu's mother wants to talk to me, and I plan to tell her that I don't want to marry Lu Kefan. So we went back to Lu Kefan's place. I never expected it to be a trap. When Mother Lu and I pushed open the door, she let out a piercing scream. Murder. Jiang Lan has killed someone. 19. I was startled by Mother Lu's shout, and when I looked closely, I saw Jiang Xian. Jiang Xian lay on the ground, one hand covered in blood. I stared in disbelief at the scene before me, while Mother Lu continued her clamor outside. Soon, a guard heard the noise and rushed over. Jiang Xian was rushed to the hospital, while I was taken into custody by the guard. To be honest, my mind was completely blank. It all happened in just a few minutes. From being caught to being locked up, I simply can't figure out how this happened. Why is Jeong Eksayan lying on the ground with an injured hand? Why would Lu's mother falsely accuse me of hurting Jeong Eksayan? Sitting alone in a closed room, I finally calmed down and regained my ability to think. This whole thing is a complete conspiracy. Lu's mother and Jeong Eksayan conspired together to set me up. However, when did Mrs. Lu and Jeong Eksayan start hooking up? Why would Mother Lu help Jeong Eksayan do such evil things? I have always humbled myself before Mother Lu. In this life and the last, why would Mother Lu collude with Jeong Eksayan to slander me like this? Does she even realize how much damage slandering me like this will cause? After being locked up for almost 5 hours, Lu Kefin finally showed up. His face was grim. As soon as he entered, he grabbed me by the collar and gritted his teeth, asking, "Why, Jeong Lan, why did you hurt Jeong Eksayan? Do you even know what you've done? What did Jeong Eksayan ever do to you? Do you realize how cruel it is to injure her hand, especially for a doctor? Jeong Eksayan will never be able to hold a scalpel again in her life." Watching Lu Kefin's anguished expression, I let out a faint sigh. "Can you let go of me? I can't breathe, and my head is spinning." Lu Kefin was infuriated by my calm tone. He let go of me but shoved me hard to the ground. My back hit the wall, and it hurts a bit. I struggled to my feet and said to Lu Kefin, "Call the police, let them investigate whether I did all this or not." "You think I wouldn't dare? Jeong Lan, how have you become so cold-blooded and so unfamiliar to me? Do you even know what Jeong Eksayan's first act was after her surgery?" I asked curiously. "What is it?" Lu Kefin gritted his teeth and said, "She pleaded for you. She said she doesn't blame you and is giving you a chance. As long as you apologize and promise to change, she won't hold it against you." "So, you're saying I should apologize?" I laughed, enunciating each word to Lu Kefin. "I won't apologize, not even if I die. Let the police handle this." "You're utterly incorrigible, Jeong Lan. Do you have any idea how much effort it took to bury this? Do you really think I wouldn't hurt you?" "Of course not, Lu Kefin. I never wanted you to rescue me, never. The only thing I want now is to call the police and let them handle this." Lu Kefin didn't want to make a big deal out of this, and I understood his concerns, but now he has no say in it. Even though I don't have parents, I still have other relatives. My uncle and aunt came looking for me, insisting on seeing me. Only then did people who couldn't see me realize that I had been unilaterally detained. This incident caused a huge stir, and an investigation team was stationed at the hospital to look into the matter of me stabbing Jeong Eksayan. Jeong Eksayan's mask was torn off quickly. She faked her academic credentials. She was just an ordinary graduate from a nursing school, but Lu Kefin hyped her up as a graduate from the country's top university. She knows nothing about medicine, only basic 4 drips and injections. As for actual surgery, she hasn't the faintest clue. The impact of this incident was enormous. Lu Kefin, who had recommended Jeong Eksayan, was also placed under isolated investigation by the organization. The whole investigation was incredibly fast. It took less than a day for Jeong Eksayan's dirty laundry to be aired. After all, she could lie to Lu Kefin and get away with anything, simply because Lu Kefin was willing to believe her and chose to trust her. The organization speaks based on facts, with no room for favoritism or fraud. After being exposed, Jeong Eksayan could no longer keep up the act and finally confessed everything. This includes the previous acts of framing and setting me up, as well as persuading Lu Kefin's mother to join in the scheme against me. She said she didn't actually want to harm me. She was just trying to scare me into backing off and breaking up with Lu Kefin. But this is just her one-sided story. The evidence of her framing me is clear, and no one would believe Jeong Eksayan's weak explanation that she was only trying to scare me. Jeong Eksayan was found guilty of fabricating facts to falsely accuse and frame others, with the intent of subjecting them to criminal prosecution. Due to the severity of the case, she was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Lu Kefin's mother, as an accomplice, showed a good attitude in admitting her guilt. Once the organization asked, she spilled everything like beans from a bamboo tube. She said, "I'm a jinx, bringing misfortune to my parents, and she doesn't want me as her daughter-in-law. She wants a daughter-in-law with a better family background and more capability than me." Then Jeong Eksayan approached her and told her some unbelievable things, and she lost her head and did exactly as Jeong Eksayan said. She told the organization that Jeong Eksayan was a demon who could foresee the future. Everything Jeong Eksayan told her came true. The organization thought the old lady had a screw loose, and since she was old and not sharp-minded anymore, being scammed was understandable, so she was given a lenient sentence. Lu Kefin's mother was released after just 48 hours in custody. told to reflect on her actions. As for Lu Kefin, after Jiang Xian's incident, the testimony he provided led the organization to deem his private life as chaotic, resulting in his suspension for reflection. The sun was blazing bright on the day I left, and I was in an incredibly good mood. Finally, I was heading toward a wonderful life. I grabbed my luggage, crossed the street, and made a beeline for the train station. As I passed an intersection, I heard a piercing scream and saw someone get hit and sent flying, landing heavily on the ground. Then, shockingly, the vehicle didn't brake and instead drove over the victim's leg, crushing it. Blood splattered everywhere. The injured person lay motionless on the ground, the road stained red with blood. I stopped and looked over, a familiar face coming into view. It turned out to be Lu Kefin's mother. In her past life, she blamed me for her car accident, saying my birth chart was unlucky, that I had a hard fate, and that I was a jinx to her. In this life, I didn't marry her son, so who was it that brought her bad luck? I'm afraid I'll never know the answer. 21 For years have flown by, and I've been so immersed in my studies that I haven't paid attention to anything else. In my spare time, I worked part-time to cover my living expenses, and life felt quite fulfilling during this time. I did receive letters, but I would simply glance at the familiar handwriting on the address and choose to destroy them. Lu Kefin once came to the school looking for me, but I chose not to see him. He couldn't find me, so he had no choice but to leave. In the end, after graduation, I was assigned to the Eastern Military Command, and with a burning passion for my country, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to the cause of building the nation. I've met a great group of like-minded people at work. I also found someone who loves me and is willing to spend the rest of their life with me. We had absolute faith in each other's feelings, and with burning passion, we held a group wedding ceremony. The wedding was held at the military base, with over 100 couples tying the knot together. We pledged before the national flag and emblem to cherish each other forever, to remain loyal to our motherland, and to devote all our strength to building our country. During the wedding ceremony, my spouse and I, along with the other brides and grooms, toasted the officers and soldiers who came to witness the event. I saw Lu Kefin in the crowd, his face deathly pale, staring straight at me with trembling lips. I averted my gaze and calmly took my lover's arm as we walked away. As the wedding ended and my husband and I were about to leave, Lu Kefin showed up again. He asked me, "Why, Jiang Lan, how could you not want me? In our past life, I was your husband, wasn't I?" I gave him a smile and replied, "You know it was a past life, don't you? Do you have any idea what I went through in that life? What makes you so sure I'd choose a heartless man again if given a second chance?" His face turned pale as he stared at me. I've come back too. And from the very first moment I returned, I've been thinking non-stop about how to end things with you. I've had enough of the suffering from that past life. Once was plenty. If coming back for a second chance only means marrying you again, I'd rather die right now." My words carried weight, and Lu Kefin's face turned pale. "That's not how it is, Jiang Lan. I never betrayed you. In my past life, I was deceived by Jiang Xian too. I only found out her true intentions later. What's the use of saying all this? In both this life and the last, Lu Kefin never brought me a shred of warmth or comfort." I didn't listen to Lu Kefin's explanation any further and left directly. I don't care what Lu Kefin thinks. In this life, I just want to work hard and live well. But news of Lu Kefin still reached my ears. My current husband told me that Lu Kefin didn't achieve the same meteoric success as in his previous life. He has been held back from promotion due to issues with his conduct. He never remarried. Oh, and his mother didn't live to be 80 like she did in the previous life. She met her maker the year after the car accident. As for Jiang Xian, she was released after serving 5 years in prison, but he's back inside again. Rumor has it that he was caught for prostitution. Story 2. I was being followed on my way home from school, so I called the police. My fiancé rushed to my rescue with a team of officers, but missed my adopted sister's call in the process. My adopted sister was brutally assaulted and killed by street thugs. My fiancé believes I staged the whole thing, that I couldn't stand my adopted sister and caused her death. On the day of our engagement ceremony, he locked me in the basement. I was humiliated by a gang of thugs. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day I was being stalked. This time, my fiancé chose to save my adopted sister instead. Seeing the shadows closing in behind me and hearing the heavy footsteps, my pace became frantic. I dug my nails into my palm to steady myself, my hands trembling as I dialed the emergency number. The call was answered almost immediately, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Lowering my voice, I spoke with an involuntary tremor. "Hello, I need to report an emergency. I'm on Wutong Lane right now, and someone's following me. Before she could finish, a scornful chuckle came from the other end of the line, dripping with sarcasm. Ha, Gu Qing, I never thought you'd stoop this low. Captain Zhao was right about you, always scheming. You'd even file a false police report just to win favor. My heart sank when I heard that familiar voice. To my surprise, it was Zhao Jin's best friend, Cui Jiala, who answered the phone as the footsteps behind me drew closer. I clutched my phone tightly, my voice trembling. Jiala, someone's really following me. Please, you guys have to come help me. Cui Jiala remained unconvinced. Oh really? Tell your entourage to stop putting on this charade. We're not coming. So save your breath. I bit my lower lip hard, hung up abruptly, and immediately dialed other helplines, but every time, the voice that answered was Cui Jiala's. It's no use. No matter how many times you call, I'll be the one answering. Captain Zhao and his team are already on their way to rescue Xin. No one's coming to play your little games. Upon hearing this, I hung up and let out a bitter smile. Even with a second chance, the outcome turned out completely different from my previous life. In my past life, when I realized I was being followed, I immediately called my fiancé Zhao Jian for help. He rushed over with backup and arrested everyone who was tailing me, but during this time, he also missed the distress call from Gu Xian. Just like me, she was being followed. By the time Zhao Jin arrived, he found Gu Xian lying on the ground, covered in bruises and with her clothes in disarray. She had already stopped breathing when her parents received the tragic news. They were completely devastated. Zhao Jin held me in his arms and whispered comforting words. You're my fiancé, which means your family now. I don't regret saving you, and I'll always protect you. Hearing this, I buried my face in his chest, clutching his shirt tightly as quiet sobs escaped me. From that day on, Zhao Jin would personally take me to and from school every day. Even when he got called away for police duty, he'd always arrange for someone to cover for him. It wasn't until a year later, on the very day I graduated from university and got engaged to Zhao Jin personally arranged everything, preparing an engagement banquet for me that rivaled a wedding in scale. At the engagement party, guests were laughing and chatting joyfully, offering their blessings, while my parents beamed with smiles as they hosted. Yet Zhao Jin pulled me into the basement of the backyard garden. At first, I thought Zhao Jin was planning a surprise for me alone, but as we approached the basement door, I sensed something was wrong. Zhao Jin dragged me forward by the wrist. When he opened the basement door and I saw 5 or 6 thugs inside, I realized what was happening. I turned my head, staring at Zhao Jin with utter disbelief in my eyes, but Zhao Jin, shedding his usual gentle and caring demeanor, fixed his hate-filled eyes on me. Gu Qing, you maliciously filed a false police report back then, deliberately hiring people to follow you just to stage a scene. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have missed Xin's call, and she wouldn't have died in such a miserable way. I've told you countless times, I never had feelings for her. As an orphan living under your roof, her life was already difficult enough. I only saw her as a sister, yet you couldn't tolerate her presence. You were the one who sent those people to humiliate Xin. Now it's your turn to experience what she went through. After these words, the basement door slammed shut. Zhao Jin stood right at the doorway, watching as I was bullied and tormented to death by those thugs. Before my consciousness faded, I saw Zhao Jin's frenzied face as he calmly pulled a lighter from his pocket. With a click, he raised his hand and threw it, declaring that we must atone for Xin soon. The raging fire consumed us all. That's when I realized these were the very people who used to bully Gu Xian. But what does any of that have to do with me? Zhao Jin isn't the only cop in this precinct, yet Gu Xian would rather call him than report it to the police. You promised you'd never regret it, that you'd protect me forever. Now you're the one destroying me with your own hands. It's absolutely disgusting how they're pinning all the blame on me. After hanging up the phone, I took a look around. Wutong Lane had no streetlights due to ongoing electrical repairs, so I quickened my pace to get out of the alley as fast as possible. Suddenly, a pair of hands grabbed me by the collar. My face instantly went pale. A cold breath brushed against my ear. Why are you in such a hurry? Come with me, I'll walk you home. With that, he dragged me deeper into the darkness. Once I realized what was happening, I tried to wrench my hand free. Annoyed by my struggling, the man slapped me across the face. Stop squirming, didn't you hear me? I'm giving you a ride. My head was ringing from the blow, and I spoke with a trembling voice. I've already called the police, they'll be here any minute. But the man acted as if he hadn't heard, forcibly dragging me deeper into the alley. In the distance, I spotted several figures standing ahead. Just as I was about to cry out, I heard The man in front speak, all these are from your dear brothers, don't worry, they're all for you. I suppressed the urge to cry for help and stomped hard on the foot of the man dragging me. The grip on my wrist loosened slightly, and I immediately broke free, running in the opposite direction. Hearing the cursing and footsteps closing in behind me, I ran for my life. Suddenly, I tripped over my own clumsy footsteps and tumbled to the ground. Seeing this, the person behind me immediately closed in. A sharp, searing pain shot through my scalp, forcing a cry of agony from my lips. A heavy, stinging slap landed hard across my face. All I could hear was ragged, panting breaths and furious curses. Bitch, thought you could run, why'd you stop now? He drove his boot into my chest with a brutal kick. The impact sent me sprawling, pain forcing me to curl into a fetal position. Watching me writhe, the others laughed as they slammed my head against the pavement. I felt something trickling down my forehead, and my vision began to blur. Everything changed after Dad brought Gu Xian home. My parents, who had always doted on me, started showering Gu Xian with affection. Even my fiancé began directing his attention toward her. Knowing Gu Xian had lost her parents, I didn't want to make things difficult for her at home, so I treated her like my own sister. But I never imagined that in my past life, I would die at the hands of my fiancé, Zhao Jin. Now, given a second chance at life, I still find myself utterly alone and without support. Seeing me lying motionless on the ground, those men tried to drag me away. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "What are you doing?" "I've already called the police." As the words hung in the air, the wail of police sirens grew louder and closer. Seeing this, the group kicked me aside and fled in a panic. Not long before, Cui Jiala had received another emergency call, not from me this time, but the location given was the same one I had mentioned earlier. The voice on the phone was frantic, saying several men were assaulting a girl who appeared to be dying, motionless on the ground, barely clinging to life. Cui Jiala recalled the address I'd given during my emergency call and immediately panicked, but every available officer had gone with Zhao Jin to rescue Gu Xian. Fearing for my safety, Cui Jiala had no choice but to come himself. When he reached the alley, he found me lying there barely conscious, my face obscured by blood, chest rising faintly as if each breath might be my last. Cui Jiala rushed forward in a fluster, his hands fumbling awkwardly as if unsure where to place them. "Ching, what's going on? Didn't you say you hired actors for this performance? Why did it turn out like this?" Zhao Jin clearly told me everything was fine, that this was all your own staged drama just to win favor. I let out a self-mocking laugh, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. Gu Xian was the driver's daughter who died in a car accident one day while taking her father to work. After that, my father brought Gu Xian to live with us out of guilt towards Gu Xian's father. My parents treated her even better than they treated me, but Gu Xian was never satisfied. She put on a timid act at home, but behind the scenes, she used her father's death to torment me. To spare my father from more grief and guilt, I chose to endure it in silence, thinking Gu Xian was just acting out because she couldn't cope with the loss. Only after witnessing the outcome of my previous life did I realize that enduring in silence only leads to utter despair. In their minds, Gu Xian was a delicate figure whose cautious demeanor evoked protectiveness. With vacant eyes fixed on the pitch-black sky, my voice turned icy cold. "Does dispatching officers require Zhao Jin's personal authorization?" My words left Cui Jiala frozen in place. The crowd drawn by the police sirens looked at me with pity in their eyes. Hearing what I said, they turned their anger on Cui Jiala, pointing and shouting accusations. "What's wrong with you police? If it weren't for that Good Samaritan calling you, this young girl might have been killed, too. When citizens report crimes, you don't even respond promptly. How can we ever trust you again? Are you cops really this irresponsible? You came alone. Standard procedure requires at least 2 officers per dispatch. Nothing even happened around here, so why are you by yourself?" Faced with the crowd's accusations, Cui Jiala grew even paler, his gaze shifting toward me with visible guilt. The sound of an ambulance siren approached as the paramedics carefully lifted me onto a stretcher. Cui Jiala, who had climbed into the ambulance with us, finally got a clear look at my face under the bright interior lights. The medical staff carefully cleaned the fine gravel from my forehead, as my head injury was quite severe. Cui Jiala stood by, lips pressed tightly together as he watched me, his eyes filled with guilt. After a preliminary examination of my injuries, the medical staff looked very grave. "The patient has suffered a head impact. We'll need to conduct a detailed examination at the hospital to assess the full extent." No sooner had the words been spoken than another medical staff member turned to Cui Jiala and asked, "Are you a family member of this patient?" Chui Jiala shook his head, and the medical staff grew anxious. Then notify the family immediately, we don't yet have a clear picture of the head injury. What if we need surgical consent later, who's going to sign for it? Upon hearing the medical staff's words, Chui Jiala quickly pulled out his phone and dialed Zhao Jin's number. My parents aren't in the country, they flew overseas yesterday to attend an auction, saying they were picking out a birthday gift for Gu Xian. The phone kept ringing, but no one ever picked up. Chui Jiala instinctively glanced at me, met my calm gaze, and guiltily explained, probably didn't hear it, I'll try again, didn't hear it, most likely, after all. She's busy looking after my adopted sister Gu Xian, how could she possibly attend to anything else? After what felt like an eternity, the call finally connected. Zhao Jin's impatient voice came through the phone, I'm still on duty, don't call me unless it's important. Chui Jiala, afraid I might overhear, immediately covered the receiver and explained in a hushed tone, Captain Zhao, something really bad has happened to Qingqing. On the other end of the line, Zhao Jin fell silent for a long moment. Suddenly, he let out a cold laugh. Chui Jiala, what, even you can be bought by her now? You're actually helping her put on this act. Even though Chui Jiala was covering the receiver, Zhao Jin's voice still exploded in my ears. The memory of my past life flooded back, and the dizziness grew more intense. Chui Jiala quickly cut Zhao Jin off, his tone urgent, I'm not lying to you, Qingqing is really in trouble, it's serious, if things take a turn for the worse, a family member will need to sign off. You need to get to city hospital right away. Zhao Jin still refused to believe anything had actually happened to me, his tone hardening. Even if she dies, it's none of my business. Now that her aunt and uncle are abroad, I'm the only family member left to accompany Qingqing. Gu Qing has nothing to do with me. The ambulance sped along, and in that confined space, Zhao Jin's voice was crystal clear. I closed my eyes briefly, hiding the sorrow in them. Whether in her past life or the present, Gu Xian's cautious demeanor has always earned her a certain special consideration from Zhao Jin, but given their respective positions, he couldn't make it too obvious. Yet whenever Gu Xian felt wronged or upset, regardless of whether it was actually my fault, Zhao Jin would turn cold toward me and pin all the blame on my shoulders. I thought the call had ended, but then Gu Xian's voice came through, tinged with hurt, Brother Jin, has something happened to sister? It's alright, you're her fiancé, and mom and dad aren't here, you should go check on her right away. Then, Zhao Jin said softly to comfort her, why bother about her, she's nowhere near as important as you are, I can't leave you alone, besides, she brought this on herself by stirring up trouble, who else is there to blame? Upon hearing the voice from the phone, Chui Jiala could no longer contain his fury and shouted, Zhao Jin, you're nothing but scum, is this how you treat Qingqing as her fiancé? I never should have trusted a word you said. Zhao Jin sneered, since you care about her so much, why don't you just become her fiancé yourself? She can't stand Qingqing, since you're taking her to your place, that works out perfectly, spares everyone the unpleasantness. Also, Qingqing's badly shaken up, I need to stay with her, so Gu Qing is your responsibility from now on, don't bother me again. With that, Zhao Jin hung up. I ignored the fury on Chui Jiala's face, but even with my eyes closed, I couldn't suppress the overwhelming grief. I always knew they favored Gu Xian, but it still hurts to witness it in this moment. Consciousness slowly faded away until everything went completely dark. The nurse monitoring the heart rate monitor urgently called out, critical, the patient's heart rate keeps dropping, start CPR immediately. When I slowly came to, the first thing I saw was Chui Jiala's haggard face. I tried to move, but a sharp pain shot through me, and I couldn't help crying out. Chui Jiala, who had been keeping watch by my bedside, was startled awake and quickly held me down, saying softly, take it easy, you're still injured and need to rest properly. My lips parted as I struggled to speak. How long was I out? Chui Jiala carefully propped me up against the headboard, then handed me a glass of water. Have some water first, you've been unconscious for a week, your heart nearly stopped, but thankfully we got you to the hospital in time for emergency treatment. I furrowed my brow, had a whole week already passed. Chui Jiala looked at me as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he kept his mouth shut. 3 days after waking up, I learned from the nurse changing my bandages that when I was critically ill and needed surgery consent, Chui Jiala contacted my family. They hung up after just a few words and then stopped answering. In the end, it was Chui Jiala who took the risk and signed for me. After the surgery, he was the one who took care of me the whole time. My family never showed up. I leaned back against the bed, my eyes fixed unblinkingly on the world Outside the window, Chui Jiala walked in through the doorway with our boxed meals in hand and gave me a wave. Hungry, let's eat first. I didn't move, just looked at him and said calmly, no need to come back later, I'll be checking out of the hospital this afternoon. Chui Jiala gasped in disbelief, are you out of your mind? You're still injured and need time to recover. I furrowed my brow and was about to speak when the hospital room door swung open, as 4 people entered through the doorway. A trace of mockery flickered in my eyes. After all this time, my biological parents finally decided to visit me. Zhao Jin's parents showed up out of nowhere. His father marched straight in, gave me a cursory glance, and started berating me. What's wrong with you? You're milking this minor injury to skip school for days. Just as Chui Jiala tried to defend me, his mother cut in sharply. Do you have any idea how much Xin was looking forward to you coming to her birthday party? But you had to be selfish, and she's still upset about it. The moment they walked in, they started scolding me. They didn't care at all about how much their daughter was hurting. They just thought I was throwing a tantrum. Not a single word of concern. Chui Jiala's face darkened. I let out a scornful laugh. Don't you know why I haven't been going to school or coming home? Gu Xian and Zhao Jin certainly do. In fact, I have Zhao Jin to thank for these injuries. My parents were stunned by my retort, and so were Zhao Jin's parents. 3. They couldn't understand what this had to do with Zhao Jin. My parents never expected their always well-behaved daughter to speak to them like that. You're right, I've always been the obedient daughter. Ever since Gu Xian came to live with us, I've been even more compliant, never once talking back to them, but my obedience never got me anywhere good, and I'm done playing that role. Dad snapped out of his thoughts, his face darkening instantly as he scolded me angrily. Gu Qing, ever since we brought Gu Xian home, you've been dissatisfied with everything. Hasn't Zhao Jin treated you well? It's because you keep picking on Xin that Zhao Jin shows her extra attention, for your sake, but you, nothing is ever good enough for you. Is this what you call being good to me? Being good to me means locking me in the basement during our engagement party and letting a bunch of thugs humiliate me. Being good to me means telling Chui Jiala that I staged everything myself, that there was no need to call the police, almost getting me killed in the end. This kind of goodness is something I can't accept. Chui Jiala couldn't hold back any longer and bluntly laid out every detail about me being stalked. After she finished, my mother looked embarrassed, hurried over to me, and said softly, Qing, Zhao Jin didn't mean any harm. You two have grown up together all these years, surely you know what kind of person he is. He was just worried about Xin in the heat of the moment. Since Xin has come to live with us, she's already in a vulnerable position. We can't make her feel neglected or uncomfortable at home. Zhao Jin's mother immediately chimed in from the side. It was Zhao Jin who told us you were fine. We had no idea it was this serious. I'll call him right now to come apologize to you. She immediately pulled out her phone and called Zhao Jin, scolding him the moment he answered. What's wrong with you? Qing nearly lost her life in this terrible incident, and you had the nerve to say she was fine. Get your ass to the hospital right now and apologize to Qing. Zhao Jin, who had just been scolded, froze for a few seconds before letting out a cold laugh. Mom, how could you fall for her tricks too? This is all just Gu Qing's self-orchestrated drama to win sympathy. Don't believe a word she says. Though not on speakerphone, the voice rang startlingly clear in the silent room. His father's face flushed crimson with rage. Snatching the phone, he fixed Zhao Jin with a stern glare and said, it was you who told us Qing was fine and insisted we shouldn't interfere. That's why we left her alone in the hospital for days. Get your ass back here right now and apologize. Zhao Jin sneered. Fine, since you're all saying that, I'll come back and see for myself if Gu Qing really almost died. With that, he hung up the phone without another word. Zhao Jin's parents looked at me apologetically as they tried to explain on his behalf. Jin's just a bit slow on the uptake. Qing, please don't take it to heart. Ignoring their explanation, I asked coldly. So when I was in emergency care, none of you came to sign for me because you believed Zhao Jin's story, is that it? At these words, all 4 of them turned pale, their eyes filled with guilt. I continued, when I was critically ill and needed someone to sign the forms, you were busy comforting Gu Xian. During my entire hospital stay, you never once checked on me. Instead, you threw a cheerful birthday party for Gu Xian. I can't help but feel like I'm the adopted one, while Gu Xian is your real daughter and Zhao Jin's fiancé. Ever since my parents started showering Gu Xian with affection, I've become practically invisible. But Gu Xian wasn't satisfied. She played the victim not just in front of our parents, but also with Zhao Jin. True to form, Zhao Jin took the bait. after her repeated displays of vulnerability, he started siding with her and blaming me, just as they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Mom took my hand, her voice choked with emotion. No, you're our real daughter. I'm sorry we neglected you. Please don't be angry with me. I coldly withdrew my hand. I'm not angry. How could I be angry when I don't even care? Zhao Jin's mother chimed in hastily. You'll always be Zhao Jin's fiancé. Our family has always considered you our future daughter-in-law. I raised an eyebrow at her. Your approval doesn't mean others have to want it. Her face instantly stiffened. She seemed about to say something, but ultimately chose to remain silent. I scoffed inwardly. What could she possibly say? That her precious son abandoned his fiancée to comfort another woman, or that he scolded his fiancée for being unreasonable, all over some other woman. The ward fell into an abrupt silence. The tension wasn't broken until Zhao Jin arrived. He pushed the door open with Gu Xian trailing behind him, then looked at me with a sneer in front of both families. Looks like you're doing just fine. It's not nearly as serious as you're making it out to be. Hearing this, Zhao Jin's father was so enraged that he slapped Zhao Jin across the face. You disgrace. This is your fiancée, your future family. How could you speak of her like that? Zhao Jin was completely stunned by the blow, staring at his father in disbelief. Just then, Gu Xian gasped from behind. Uncle, how could you hit Jin? Zhao Jin's father turned a furious glare toward Gu Xian and snapped. This is a family matter. You have no say in it. With that, he turned to Zhao Jin, his eyes blazing with fury. As a police officer, it's understandable that you'd rescue Gu Xian. But you can't mislead others and ignore Gu Qing's cries for help. He was unconscious for a whole week, and you had the nerve to tell us it was all an act. Now you're standing there like you did nothing wrong. Gu Xian's eyes welled up with tears from Zhao Jin's father's scolding, making Zhao Jin's heart ache as he comforted her. It's alright, this has nothing to do with you. Seeing him comforting Gu Xian, Zhao Jin's mother immediately pulled him to my bedside. Apologize to Qingqing right now. Do you realize she almost died because no one could sign for her due to you? The gentle expression Zhao Jin had just moments ago twisted into one of disgust as he faced me, sneering. Why should I apologize? This whole thing was orchestrated by her from start to finish. She's the one who lied about being stalked and filed a false police report. This is her fault. I don't owe anyone an apology. Cui Jiala stepped forward at that moment, storming over to Zhao Jin with fury in his eyes. Orchestrated, Zhao Jin. If I'd arrived 1 second later, Qingqing would have been dead. Her heart nearly stopped in the ambulance. I was terrified out of my mind. And you have the nerve to call this some staged performance. Cui Jiala shoved Zhao Jin aside, yanked open the bedside cabinet, and pulled out the medical report. Take a good look at this. It's Qingqing's test results. Without waiting for Zhao Jin to react, they continued. Even though Captain Zhao didn't order an investigation into this case, I looked into it on my own and found out the truth. Qingqing was indeed being followed by a group of human traffickers. They'd been tracking her route home from school, waiting for the right moment to kidnap her. If Qingqing hadn't fought back, and if no one had called the police, she would have faced only two outcomes, either being trafficked, or dying in Wutong Alley. As he finished speaking, Zhao Jin's face instantly turned pale, as if he couldn't believe what Cui Jiala had said, and he murmured under his breath, that's not true. She clearly staged the whole thing herself. Cui Jiala glared at him angrily. If you had even the slightest concern for Gu Qing, you would know that the bureau successfully arrested the traffickers 2 days ago. Hearing this, both sets of parents sighed, their eyes filled with guilt and self-reproach. Gu Xian, seeing everyone's remorseful expressions, flashed a hint of panic in her eyes. She rushed over to me, knelt on the ground, and burst into loud sobs. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have called Brother Jean to come save me. I'm sorry. Brother Jean told me to call him first if anything ever happened, so that's why I called him. I won't do it again. I'll never call Brother Jean again. It's all my fault. Watching Gu Xian's tearful outburst, I let out a soft chuckle. By putting on this pitiful act, she's winning everyone's sympathy and redirecting attention to herself, making them overlook everything else. Just as expected, my parents were already looking at Gu Xian with pained expressions, while Zhao Jin stepped forward to help her up, then turned to me with a guilt-ridden gaze and apologized in a low voice. Xin has nothing to do with this. It's all my fault, and I'll make it up to you. I shot him an icy glare and refused. No need. Save your apologies, your concern, and your goodwill for Gu Xian from now on. My demeanor left Zhao Jin flustered, and he gazed at me with visible unease. Ignoring him, I turned to face Zhao Jin's parents. Since everyone's here, let's just call off the engagement between Zhao Jin and me. As you can see, he clearly cares more about Gu Xian. Honestly, I think she'd be a much better match for him. The moment she finished speaking, Zhao Jin's mother cut in. What nonsense is this, Qingqing? Zhao Jin doesn't have those kinds of feelings for Gu Xian. He only sees her as a little sister. You're the only one he'd ever want to marry, her own mother quickly added. That's right, Qingqing. Zhao Jin really does just treat Qingqing like a sister, and you know how difficult her situation at home is. We can't make things any harder for her there. I waved my hand dismissively, not wanting to hear their nonsense. It doesn't matter. What matters is I want to call off the engagement. You can let Gu Xian become Zhao Jin's fiancé or not. It's none of my business. Seeing my resolute expression, Zhao Jin's face showed panic. He quickly let go of Gu Xian's arm and said urgently, I don't have feelings for Gu Xian. I only see her as a younger sister. I just thought she needed some extra care. That's all. I closed my eyes and ignored them, and everyone could tell it wasn't the right time for discussion ever since I mentioned calling off the engagement that day. Zhao Jin came to the hospital every day to take care of me. Throughout that time, I didn't respond to anything he said to me. After a week of recovery, both families came to pick me up on the day I was discharged from the hospital. They reserved a table at Juzhai Pavilion to celebrate my discharge from the hospital. The table was filled with all my favorite dishes, and Zhao Jin personally peeled a shrimp and placed it in my bowl. I expressionlessly picked it up with my chopsticks and transferred it to Gu Xian's bowl. The atmosphere at the table instantly turned icy. Zhao Jin's expression stiffened, and he stopped serving me food. My parents didn't say much, but happily continued to host me. On the way, I went to the restroom and came out to find Gu Xian standing by the sink. Our eyes met in the mirror. Gu Xian turned her head and glared at me with pure hatred. What's wrong with wanting them to love me a little more? After all, I'm not their biological child. Deep down, their hearts are always with you. Meeting her disgusted gaze, I let out a scornful laugh. Gu Xian, I don't owe you anything, do I? They're my parents, my fiancé. Yet they treat you, an outsider, better than they treat me. What more could you possibly be unhappy about? Gu Xian stared fiercely into my eyes and roared, they should have all eyes on me. When Zhao Jin noticed we hadn't returned for a long time, he left the private room to look for us. Hearing Gu Xian's cry, he hurried forward. As he walked, he called out, Xian Xian. Hearing Zhao Jin's voice, Gu Xian's face instantly took on a pitiful expression. As Zhao Jin approached, he saw Gu Xian sitting on the ground with red-rimmed eyes. Zhao Jin quickly helped her up and led her outside, giving her a thorough once-over. Before Zhao Jin could say anything, Gu Xian choked back a sob and said, Brother Jin, I just wanted to have a proper talk with your sister, but she can't stand me. I never thought she'd actually push me. I'll always be an outsider. Listening to Gu Xian's tearful complaints, I couldn't help but laugh. Just before Zhao Jin approached, Gu Xian staged an act to make it look like I was bullying her. Sure enough, when Zhao Jin saw it, he looked at me with utter disappointment. Gu Qing, I've already taken the blame for the stalking incident. It had nothing to do with Qingqing, so why are you still picking on her? It's not like anything serious actually happened to you anyway. Let's just drop it here. With that, he took Gu Xian's hand and quickly walked away. Gu Xian turned back and shot me a smug look, as if to say, see, I won again. Just a little longer until graduation. Once I have my diploma, I can finally leave this house. I've been staying on campus instead of going home as graduation approaches. I'm really looking forward to life after graduation. I've already decided which city I want to work in. Zhao Jin came looking for me several times, but I refused to see him. Eventually, he stopped coming altogether. Someone leaked footage online showing how I was being stalked and how the police ignored my reports. Netizens dug up Zhao Jin's identity, and some even posted videos from when I was hospitalized. Zhao Jin faced a storm of angry backlash from internet users. The video spread like wildfire, gaining more and more traction, and Zhao Jin was suspended pending investigation. That very night, I was summoned back home. As soon as I walked in, Gu Xian confronted me, furious and flustered. Gu Qing, you can't just leak these videos because you have a grudge against Jin. Look what you've done. He's been suspended and is being torn apart online. My parents and Zhao Jin were sitting on the sofa, their faces grim and silent. Zhao Jin stood up and asked me, did you leak the video? Seeing their expressions, I found it increasingly absurd. You're a police officer, even if they're brainless, shouldn't you know better? I was beaten within an inch of my life, How could I possibly have had the strength to record anything? 5. Besides, aren't these the facts? Were they wrong to criticize you? Zhao Jin finally caught on, his face darkening with displeasure. During this period, he'd been subjected to all sorts of vicious insults. The language was truly foul. Gu Xian, unwilling to concede, resorted to emotional blackmail. Against me, he's your fiancé, you two are a team, you need to clear this up online and let brother Jean have some peace. My parents on the couch turned to look at me, their faces full of concern. Ching, you and Zhao Jin are engaged, you'll be family soon, you should be thinking about what's best for him. I stared coldly at my parents sitting on the couch, then shifted my gaze to Zhao Jin. First, when we were at the hospital, I already stated I was calling off the engagement. I wasn't asking for your permission, I was informing you. Second, his suspension was due to his own work errors, it has nothing to do with me. Third, what you've seen online is the truth. I won't offer any explanations for Zhao Jin's sake. Also, I'll be staying on campus until graduation. With that, I turned and walked out of the house. 3 days later, the police concluded their investigation. Zhao Jin was fired, and Cui Jiala was demoted jobless. Zhao Jin shut himself in his room day after day, drowning his sorrows in drink. With Zhao Jin no longer protecting Gu Xian, although she had bullied, came back for revenge. There's more to the story. The police department's investigation into Zhao Jin's rescue operation for Gu Xian has yielded more detailed findings. When Zhao Jin arrived with his team, they found only Gu Xian with her clothes in disarray. He stayed to comfort her instead of immediately pursuing the fleeing thugs. It wasn't until today that these thugs were arrested and interrogated, finally bringing the truth to light. 6. As it turned out, Gu Xian had orchestrated the whole thing herself, just to prove to me that she meant more to Zhao Jin than I did. But what I never expected was being followed that very night. After my last class that afternoon, I spotted Zhao Jin standing in front of the teaching building. He saw me approaching, his face filled with remorse as he said, Ching, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have believed Gu Xian's words and ended up hurting you like this. Holding my textbooks, I looked at him with calm composure. I don't accept your apology, and I won't forgive you. The moment he showed favoritism towards Gu Xian, the moment he personally pushed me into the hands of those thugs in our previous life, that's when forgiveness became impossible. Some wounds run too deep for a simple apology to heal. Remembering how things ended in my past life, I closed my eyes and suppressed the rising bitterness. Zhao Jin, why did you choose to save Gu Xian that day? Were you afraid you'd regret it for the rest of your life if she died there, and then you dragged others into your atonement? Zhao Jin stared at me in shock, his eyes filled with complex emotions. I sneered. I walked past Zhao Jin and headed toward the dormitory. Zhao Jin watched me walk away, no longer having the heart to explain. After graduating from university, I chose to work down south. One day after work, I received a call from Zhao Jin's mother. She pleaded with me over the phone, her voice filled with sorrow, begging me to come back and see Zhao Jin one last time. Ever since I graduated and chose to work on the other side of the city, he started drinking every day, which led to him developing stomach cancer. It wasn't discovered until it had reached an advanced stage. I listened to the sobbing on the other end of the line with an expressionless face and said indifferently, Auntie, I'm sorry, but we have nothing to do with each other anymore, and I'm very busy. Then came the sound of Zhao Jin's mother shouting, followed by the shattering of a cup hitting the floor. I frowned and hung up the phone. I next heard about Gu Xian at a class reunion. Over dinner, they were discussing how the thugs Gu Xian had hired for that staged incident had been released. After being exposed and driven from his home, Gu Xian lost Zhao Jin's protection and soon fell prey to those thugs. They unleashed all their pent-up rage from years of imprisonment on Gu Xian, leading to an inevitable conclusion. Listening to their conversation, I picked up the glass of red wine from the table and took a sip. A toast to myself. May I navigate the long road ahead with resilience. Story 2. It's the 4th year of my secret relationship with my uncle, who is a family friend. On my 22nd birthday, he promised to get the marriage certificate with me and make our relationship public. But that day, I waited in the restaurant until the clock struck 12. Instead, I received a video of him passionately kissing a hot girl. I knew that girl. Her name was Qin Xia, my senior sister, and a sex addiction sufferer. It was the same in my previous life. After receiving the video, I went crazy and rushed to the bar to ask Liang Zhe for an explanation, but he just smiled and casually pulled me into his arms, whispering softly, Jia, I've already given all my love to you, we shouldn't be too greedy, should we? That night, I exposed the fact that I was in a relationship with Liang Zhe. I originally thought that even if I became infamous, I would go down with him. But I underestimated Liang Zhe. With just one sentence, "Jie, you're not well." Everyone said that I had delusional disorder. Later, Liang Zhe imprisoned me in this Xiangshan villa. He always tried to persuade me, saying, "Jie, sex and love can be separated." Finally, one night, I set the entire villa on fire, but I never expected that I was reborn and returned to the day of my 22nd birthday. 1. Student Jiang, are you sure there's no problem with the itinerary in 3 days? I glanced at the message sent by my senior brother Lin Guannan. Just after I replied, "No problem," there came the sound of the door opening downstairs. It was Liang Zhe who had come back. He was also accompanied by Qin Xia, my senior sister. She was still wearing the bright and enchanting red short skirt from the video she sent me last night. Her long wavy hair was draped over her shoulders. The two of them sat down on the sofa. Qin Xia's fair and beautiful left foot was placed on Liang Zhe's legs. She was seducing him. Intentionally or unintentionally, Liang Zhe slightly frowned, but he just said softly, "Don't act like a slut here." Qin Xia wasn't annoyed. She smiled and hooked her hands around Liang Zhe's neck. "Mr. Liang, I've sprained my foot, can't you be a bit gentler?" Liang Zhe sneered, raised his right hand, and forcefully pinched Qin Xia's chin. "Do you think you're Rugia? Qin Xia, you'd better recognize your own status." As the last syllable fell, Qin Xia straightened her body. Liang Zhe's fingertips slid across her chin and neck. Finally, he grabbed her neck with one hand, leaned close to her ear, and said, "Ask the family doctor to take a look at your sprained ankle. If there's nothing wrong, leave here. If Rugia sees you, you'll bear the consequences." After saying the warning and threatening words, Liang Zhe pushed Qin Xia away, slowly unbuttoned the cuffs of his shirt, rolled up his sleeves to his arms, and then entered the kitchen, leaving Qin Xia where she was. Qin Xia stared at Liang Zhe's back and clenched her fists unwillingly. When she raised her eyes, she saw me standing at the corner of the second floor. There was jealousy and resentment in her eyes. If I hadn't been reborn, I think at this moment, I would have already had a fierce argument with Liang Zhe and Qin Xia instead of just watching it as a play. The moment I was reborn yesterday, the video in my hand happened to freeze on the picture of them passionately kissing. At that time, I still had lingering hatred and thought about strangling Liang Zhe to death. But reason prevailed in my previous life. With just one sentence from him, "Rugia's mental state is a bit abnormal. The doctor said she has delusional disorder." Everything collapsed overnight. I became the pervert in everyone's mouth who was shameless and delusional about her own uncle. Everyone spurned me, and I was removed from the family register. Finally, I was secretly imprisoned in this Xiangshan villa by Liang Zhe. The Liang family has deep-rooted influence in Beijing. I couldn't fight against Liang Zhe, so, in this life, I just want to leave Liang Zhe and live a stable life too. Qin Xia still didn't dare to provoke Liang Zhe directly. After the family doctor sprayed medicine for her, she left, but the strange number on my phone sent me 2 more text messages. This time, Qin Xia didn't hide her identity anymore. She said frankly, "Jiang Rugia, do you really think Liang Zhe loves you? A prodigal son is a prodigal son. Do you really hope he can settle down? You've really stayed in the ivory tower for too long. You're so stupid." I couldn't help but be lost in thought. The corners of my lips curled into a sarcastic smile. Liang Zhe is a family friend of my mother. 10 years ago, the female secretary my father was having an affair with got pregnant and came to my mother to ask for a proper status. It became known to everyone. My mother was so angry that she vomited blood. Finally, she couldn't bear the betrayal and jumped off a building to commit suicide. After her death, my father, filled with remorse, forced the secretary's child to have an abortion. While they were arguing in the car, they both died overnight. I became an orphan, and my uncles and aunts all kept their distance from me. It was Liang Zhe who took care of my mother's funeral and brought me back to the Liang family for a full 12 years. At that time, Liang Zhe was a well-known prodigal son in the circle, with countless women around him. But after he started raising me, he restrained all his temper, cut off all his romantic relationships, quit smoking, and even got rid of his dissolute habit of always getting drunk in bars. He showed me his best side. As long as I was around, even for the gatherings organized by his friends, Liang Zhe would greet them in advance, saying, "Don't smoke during the gathering, replace all the alcohol with juice, and don't swear either." His friends were always amused by this, but they still did as he said. Everyone knew that I was the one Liang Zhe protected, his most precious little niece. No one dared to provoke me, no one dared to offend me, and no one dared to like me either until I turned 18. On my coming-of-age ceremony, Liangze gave me a beautiful pink diamond necklace, which was worth a fortune and was unique, but I still couldn't get excited about it. Liangze also noticed my mood and thought that someone had bullied me. He checked all my whereabouts of that day countless times, asked the bodyguard who was secretly following me, and questioned the servants in the villa. When he still couldn't find anything wrong, he frowned. He symbolically knocked on the door of my bedroom. When he pushed the door open and saw me lying on the bed with a flushed face, he was slightly taken aback. It was already past 3 o'clock in the morning at that time. Liangze snatched my phone away, after seeing the chat records between me and a senior with a cold face. A gloomy aura emanated from his whole body. I added the senior. After getting to know him in a club, he wasn't as good-looking as Liangze, but he was very interesting. Every night, he would tell me all kinds of little stories to make me happy. Even when he saw the fallen leaves on the road, he would share it with me. He was just confessing his love to me. After Liangze read it, he was so angry that he laughed. He blocked the senior directly with smooth movements. Jiang Rujia, you actually like someone like him. I don't know what stimulated me that day. I scolded Liangze for a long time, scolding him for his strong control, for meddling in my affairs, scolding him for blocking all my chances of having a romantic relationship. By the end, my voice was choked with sobs, and tears fell uncontrollably. Liangze's whole face turned dark. He put his hands on my shoulders and asked through gritted teeth, "Do you want to fall in love?" I was too scared to answer with red eyes, but later, Liangze started chasing me, secretly, in the spring festival when I was 18. Liangze and I got together secretly. Naturally, to the outside world, we were still in the relationship of uncle and niece. Behind closed doors, we sank into love soberly. It was so easy to fall in love with Liangze that year. For my New Year's wish, Liangze promised me when he took power, when he had the ability to block all the gossip for me, he would make our relationship public and tell the whole world. Liangze likes Jiang Rujia, but later, all the hardships I endured were brought to me by him. Jie, why did you get up so early today? Liangze's gentle voice pulled me back from my memories. He looked at me, and his beautiful peach blossom eyes were filled with deep affection. He had just come out of the kitchen. The fragrance of the cooked porridge had already wafted out. As Liangze put down the sleeves he had rolled up, he walked up to me and habitually pulled me into his arms, with his chin resting on my shoulder. Something urgent came up at the company yesterday, and I missed our Jiejia's birthday, so I got up early to cook porridge for Jiejia as an apology. I'll rearrange the best restaurant and celebrate with Jiejia again in a few days. Is that okay? He whispered in my ear. His voice was so beautiful. In bed, he was also so gentle and tender, worrying that I would be in pain and afraid that I would cry. He treated me like a delicate doll, afraid that if he used too much force, I would break. So, in the past 4 years, he had never truly been satisfied. So, in the corners I didn't know about, he vented his sexual desires on another person, wildly and horribly. I always remember, on the day I exposed Liangze's true face, he was sitting in the booth of the bar, smiling casually. His slender fingers held a cigarette, and the tip was still glowing red. His gaze fell on Qin Xia. He pressed the cigarette but hard on her thigh. She let out a cry of pain, but her eyes were filled with lust. I took a step back in shock, but Liangze still smiled and said softly, "I'm really unlucky, Jieji found out. I pretended for 12 years, and now it's all back to square one." He walked closer to me. He said that he loved me the most and only me. Qin Xia was just a worthless thing and wouldn't become an obstacle between us. He said, "Rujia, sex and love can be separated." He couldn't bear to do those dirty things to me, but the evil factors were screaming, and he couldn't control it. So, he gave his sexual desires to Qin Xia. Qin Xia was a sex addiction sufferer. They took what they needed from each other. I didn't want to listen and couldn't accept it. I smashed all the wine bottles on the table like a madman. Liangze just stood aside and let me vent until I was tired and sat down in a daze. Liangze took out a tissue and gently wiped the tears on my face with pity in his eyes. He said, "Jieji, what else are you not satisfied with? My heart is all yours. We shouldn't be too greedy, should we?" That night, I exposed the fact that Liangze had cheated on me during our relationship. I knew I couldn't touch Liangze, but even if I became infamous, I wanted to drag him down with me. But I never thought that he would ask the doctor to issue a certificate stating that I had delusional disorder. He said that he and Qin Xia were in a legitimate boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. He said that he didn't measure his actions properly and gave me room for fantasy. Overnight, Liangze was cleared of all blame, and I was sent to a mental hospital as a mentally ill person. I underwent 3 Months of hypnosis and electroshock therapy. I even doubted myself that I was really sick, but no. After the commotion died down, Liang Zhe secretly took me out of the mental hospital and imprisoned me in this Shangshan villa. He asked me, "Jie, have you learned your lesson?" Only then did I know that those days were just a small punishment he gave me, a punishment for being disobedient. 5. Seeing that I didn't speak for a long time, Liang Zhe smiled helplessly. It seems that Jie is still angry. What should I do then? How about letting Jie beat me up to let off some steam? I just saw Qin Xia. Upon hearing this, a trace of displeasure flashed in Liang Zhe's eyes, but he quickly hid it. His beautiful fingers played with my hair. The company has a project recently, and the research direction is related to sex addiction. Qin Xia is one of the experimental subjects. We worked through the night last night, and she wasn't in a good state. She sent me back. He said it casually. I couldn't help but smile mockingly, but in the end, I just replied with an The next second, Liang Zhe's private phone rang inappropriately. As expected, it should be Qin Xia, but he didn't seem to care. After calmly rejecting the call, he smiled and was about to lead me downstairs when, holding my hand, the phone rang again, over and over. Liang Zhe frowned, his face darkened slightly, and he was obviously a bit impatient. Finally, he used the excuse of serving me porridge and entered the kitchen to answer the phone. It was noisy on the other side, but I could still vaguely hear, "Qin Xia, can Liang Zhe satisfy your strong sex addiction? Why don't we play together? Mr. Liang, save me. You want Liang Zhe to save you? Are you crazy? Qin Xia, he's accompanying his little princess right now. No, please, don't." Qin Xia's humble cries for help and screams came out of the receiver. Immediately after, Liang Zhe clenched his fist and smashed it on the countertop with a bang. He hung up the phone, and his expression was extremely ugly. He might not like Qin Xia that much, but his possessiveness and control are stronger than anyone else's. He will never allow others to covet what belongs to him, even if it's just a plaything. I quietly walked from outside the kitchen to the dining table, pulled out a chair, and sat down. When Liang Zhe came out of the kitchen with the porridge, he suppressed his emotions and had a smile on his face. "Jie, you can have your breakfast first. There's something at the company that I need to deal with. I'll be back soon." As he said that, he gently rubbed my head. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, I stopped him. "Uncle, when I was 18, you promised me that we would make our relationship public and get the marriage certificate when I was 22. Were you lying to me?" I smiled at him, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. Every day after I was imprisoned in this Shangshan villa in my previous life, I kept asking myself that if I hadn't discovered Liang Zhe's dirty side, would we have lived our whole lives like an ordinary couple, treating each other with respect? Liang Zhe was slightly stunned, but in the end, he still didn't give me an answer. Qin Xia called again. He left a sentence, "Don't think too much," pretending to be calm, and then picked up his coat and left. I lowered my eyes and stared at the bowl of porridge in front of me, which was still steaming. I couldn't help but smile mockingly. How could there be someone who could separate sex and love so clearly? Not long after, Qin Xia sent me another message. "Jiang Rujia, you see, Liang Zhe still chose me. You and Liang Zhe are not the same kind of people. You should be grateful that I let you see his true face. If I had understood this earlier in my previous life, why did I have to get entangled with such a bad person? Fortunately, it's not too late in this life." The reminder for the plane ticket that Lin Guanan booked for me also popped up. It was a ticket to the United States in 3 days. 6. When Liang Zhe arrived at the nightclub, Qin Xia was being pressed down on the bar table by 2 men. Her skirt was torn open with a large hole, and she would expose herself if she wasn't careful. When she looked at Liang Zhe with tears in her eyes, he just sneered. Her clumsy trick was seen through by him at a glance. Liang Zhe hooked his finger. Immediately, a row of bodyguards appeared behind him. The 2 men quickly let go of the hands that were holding Qin Xia down and swallowed nervously. Everyone in Beijing knew the reputation of Liang Zhe. He was ruthless and cruel in his methods. "Mr. Liang, we were just joking with Miss Qin." The man's legs were shaking with fear. Liang Zhe gave a low laugh. "Just a joke." The 2 men nodded repeatedly, afraid that if they were a second slower, they would die a horrible death. Qin Xia's eyes were red at the corners, and she looked at Liang Zhe helplessly. "Mr. Liang, save me. Shoo." Liang Zhe put his index finger to his lips. The bodyguards behind him immediately understood and pulled the 2 men into the next room, ignoring their pleas for mercy until the heartrending voices came from the next room. "It was Miss Qin who told us to do this. She paid us. Mr. Liang, we were wrong and we won't dare to do it again. Mr. Liang, Liang Zhe still stood there towering over them. When he looked down at Qin Xia with a disdainful gaze, her face was already deathly pale, and her thin body was shaking uncontrollably. "Mr. Liang, I didn't," she said in a trembling voice. "Qin Xia, I warned you, don't play such useless tricks on me." He sneered and curled his lips. His well-defined fingers took out the phone from Qin Xia's bag, after opening it with ease. When he saw the messages Qin Xia sent to Jiang Rujia, his expression turned gloomy, and an extremely dangerous storm brewed in his deep black eyes like ink. No wonder he always felt that Jiang Rujia's mood was a bit abnormal today. No wonder Jiang Rujia suddenly asked him that question when he was leaving home. He loved Jiang Rujia, so he gave her his heart and his best side. He was afraid that Jiang Rujia would know about his disgusting sexual perversions and his promiscuous past, so he was extremely cautious and walked on thin ice, pretending for 12 years he was already preparing to propose to Jiang Rujia. He had already paved all the roads for their future, and even the ring and wedding dress he designed with his own hands were almost finished. Now Qin Xia had ruined all of this. The atmosphere in the private room was oppressive. When Qin Xia tried to get closer to Liang Zhe, he grabbed her neck tightly with one hand, his eyes bloodshot. "Qin Xia, you really deserve to die." Liang Zhe's strength was great. Qin Xia's face turned red from being choked, and she mumbled words of. She begged Liang Zhe to spare her, with tears in her eyes and a sobbing voice. "Mr. Liang, I was too greedy. I wanted more. I was wrong. I will explain it to Miss Fong. I will tell her that I hired people to stage all of this on my own. Mr. Liang, please, spare me." After a long time, when Qin Xia was almost out of breath and on the verge of suffocation, Liang Zhe slowly released his hand in satisfaction, threw her onto the sofa beside him, and then loosened his tie. "This is your last chance. Don't let me find out that you provoke Rujia again." After saying that, he pinched Qin Xia's face with one hand and tore open her top with the other like a wild beast. Releasing its nature, he took what he wanted without caring about the life or death of the person beneath him. 7. As soon as I arrived at the laboratory, I saw Lin Guannan. He was wearing a white work uniform and standing in front of the experimental equipment, recording the data. He was my senior brother, 2 years older than me. He was a well-known cold and aloof campus heartthrob in the school. He came from a scholarly family, and he received a full scholarship every year. During his 2 years of postgraduate study, 3 of his papers were published in top SCI journals, and he was considered an outstanding figure in the field of biology. After Lin Guannan finished recording the data and looked up to see me, he was slightly taken aback. After pushing his gold-rimmed glasses, he finished dealing with the final work before walking up to me. "You're early." "It's not early, the time is just right." At 8 o'clock in the evening, the tutor booked a place in a restaurant in Beijing and organized a gathering specifically to see me and Lin Guannan off. A month ago, a biological research project was launched in the United States. With a total of 2 places available, it was certain that Lin Guannan would participate, but the remaining place hadn't been decided for a long time, and the application I submitted hadn't been approved either until yesterday. Lin Guannan waited for me outside the restaurant all night. Then I knew that the place was for me. However, it was rejected by Liang Zhe. He intercepted my application, and the tutor didn't receive it, and for the email messages that the tutor originally sent to me, Liang Zhe replied on my behalf. When Lin Guannan showed me the screenshots, I was almost stunned in place in shock. "Teacher, I'm sorry. I'm very happy to have your support, but I'm sorry that I can't go to the United States. I'm going to get married to my boyfriend after graduation, so I may not be able to spend time in the laboratory." The tutor sent a long message to persuade me. He hoped that I could think clearly and that there was no need to give up my ideals for marriage. Liang Zhe still replied, "Teacher, thank you for the opportunity, but I love my boyfriend very much." After reading it, I was filled with anger and wished I could strangle Liang Zhe. What right did he have to decide my future for me? If it wasn't for Lin Guannan's appreciation of my talent, who was half a teacher to me, he wouldn't have gone to great lengths to find me. Lin Guannan also wanted to know an answer. He knew that I could stay up all night for accurate experimental data, and that I could search through all the data in the library day and night to publish a paper in a top journal, and even got locked in the library by mistake for a whole night. So he didn't believe it that I would reject participating in this project that could enhance my self-worth for the so-called marriage. What's more, the project wasn't indefinite. In my previous life, Lin Guannan had also looked for me, but at that time I was immersed in the pain of being betrayed by Liang Zhe and turned a blind eye. Fortunately, I didn't miss it this time. What I didn't expect was that I would meet Liang Zhe and Qin Xia in the restaurant. When she was arm in arm with Liang Zhe and walking towards us, I was still walking and discussing the experiment he did just now with Lin Guannan. With a smile on my face when we mentioned the complex data, Lin Guannan frowned. When I couldn't help but raise my hand to tease him a bit, Liang Zhe's gentle voice came, Jia. Suddenly, I stopped in my tracks and looked up to meet Liang Zhe's eyes, which were filled with complex emotions. There was a momentary silence. Qin Xia quietly withdrew her hand and took a step back silently, maintaining a safe distance from Liang Zhe. However, the strangulation mark on her neck was particularly obvious, as if someone had strangled her neck with something. After a long confrontation, Liang Zhe was the first to break the silence. He took a few steps and walked up to me, when he was about to gently tuck the hair scattered in front of my ear behind my ear. In an affectionate gesture, I couldn't help but take a small step back. His hand stopped in midair, and a moment of surprise flashed in his eyes, but soon he put on a casual smile again. You're having a meal with your classmates, why didn't you tell your uncle? I replied calmly, I was afraid of affecting uncle's work. Liang Zhe smiled softly, and his inquiring gaze fell on Lin Guannan beside me. Jia, there are a lot of people with ill intentions outside. You have to keep your eyes open. Don't be so naive as to be deceived. Lin Guannan curled his lips and sneered. Both the Liang family and the Lin family used to live in the same compound. They often saw each other. According to seniority, Lin Guannan should call Liang Zhe uncle, but he was never afraid of Liang Zhe. The backgrounds of the two were evenly matched. Rujia, I'll give you the same advice. There are always some crazy people in this world who like to try to control you and possess you in the name of doing what's good for you. So, don't trust anyone easily. Don't trust anyone, no matter how close the relationship is. What do you think, Mr. Liang? As Lin Guannan spoke, he looked directly into Liang Zhe's eyes without hesitation. The smile on Liang Zhe's lips disappeared instantly, and his expression turned gloomy. In the past, because I loved Liang Zhe, I regarded all this control and possessiveness as the affection between lovers, and I even enjoyed it. Because of this, I could be very sure that Liang Zhe loved me too. In this way, he wouldn't cheat and wouldn't become another version of my father. But I never expected that in Liang Zhe's eyes, extreme love and crazy lust could be completely separated. Finally, the tutor arrived. The two people who were at loggerheads finally suppressed their emotions. Liang Zhe insisted on having the meal with us. Lin Guannan didn't refuse either. But everyone was sensible enough to keep silent about the fact that this meal was a farewell dinner. 9. The reason why Liang Zhe secretly rejected the place for me was very simple. The Liang family's status was deeply rooted. Their grandparents were all high-ranking government officials, and their entry and exit were strictly regulated. As long as I went abroad, he couldn't continue to treat me like a caged bird in Beijing and control me in the name of love. This meal was eaten in an oppressive atmosphere. Liang Zhe regarded the others as air. His slender and beautiful fingers slowly peeled the shrimps and picked the crabs for me. His actions were considerate and gentle. Some classmates whispered, it's true that Mr. Liang treats Jiang Rujia like a little princess as rumored. I thought it was all just rumors. Upon hearing this, the gloom on Liang Zhe's face finally dissipated a bit, and the corners of his lips curled slightly. He put the peeled shrimp into my bowl again. Lin Guannan raised his eyes and glanced at me with a calm expression. I felt a sense of pressure. Finally, I made an excuse to go to the bathroom. I just wanted to get some fresh air. But as soon as I went in, Qin Xia followed. She quietly locked the door of the bathroom when I heard the sound and turned my head. Before I could react, Qin Xia slapped me hard, and then pulled my hair back. I was forced to tilt my head back in pain, and tears welled up in my eyes instantly. Qin Xia, are you crazy? Qin Xia's emotions were obviously agitated. She roared at me with her eyes wide open. I am crazy. Jiang Rujia, I don't understand. Even though Liang Zhe is like this, why don't you leave him? Why are you still lingering around? Why? Do you know that he had sex with me again today? He said he likes having sex with me. Do you know that only I can satisfy him? And you, what can you bring to him? Her voice suddenly rose sharply, and her eyes were filled with unwillingness and resentment. When I first met Qin Xia, she wasn't like this. She was a child from the mountains and a student my mother sponsored before her death. After my mother passed away, I never let the sponsorship for her stop at the freshman orientation of the university. She recognized me. At that time, she was sunny and bright, and she was the top student and the most beautiful girl in the acting department of Peking University. In her sophomore year, she was invited by a film director to join a film crew, but it was from that time on Qinxia changed. In my previous life, Qinxia also kept provoking me like this. Later, I found out the director didn't invite her to the crew but gave her to Liangze. Since then, she became Liangze's exclusive plaything. At first, Qinxia resisted, but gradually, she was also attracted by the luxurious and indulgent life as long as she could make Liangze happy. With a wave of Liangze's hand, the money he gave her was more than she could earn in a lifetime of hard work. Qinxia indulged in it. Her desires grew bigger and bigger. She delusionally wanted to replace me and naively hoped to become Liangze's wife, but Liangze, in his heart, he always only cared about me. What does your business have to do with me? Can you not drag me into your disgusting affairs? I frowned and tried to break free from Qinxia's hand. She suddenly gave a hard shake and pushed me again. Has nothing to do with you, Jiang Rujia. Liangze likes you. He's going to marry you. Do you know that? I'm about to lose Liangze. My lower back directly hit the sink, and I couldn't help but groan in pain. Qinxia, do you like being someone's dog so much? Qinxia was stunned for a moment, and then she curled her lips mockingly. But it's Liangze, Jiang Rujia, we're different. Without Liangze, you can still stand at the top of the pyramid, but without Liangze, I'm just an ant that anyone can step on. As she spoke, a touch of sadness slowly appeared in her eyes. So, Jiang Rujia, give Liangze to me, okay? Qinxia's eyes suddenly turned red and were gradually filled with tears. Big, crystal-clear tears rolled down her distorted cheeks. The next moment, she lost control of her emotions and knelt heavily on the ground. Miss Jiang, I'm begging you, I can't live without Liangze, please. I pursed my lips and furrowed my brows. Just as I was about to speak, Qinxia seemed to hear the hurried footsteps outside. She raised her hand and slapped herself hard again and again. Miss Jiang, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to destroy your relationship with Mr. Liang. I was possessed by evil. I hired people to fake those videos and photos. Miss Jiang, can you forgive me this time? I won't dare to do it again. Suddenly, I stood there in a daze. The door of the bathroom was kicked open. It was Liangze. He quickly walked up to me and completely ignored Qinxia, who was kneeling on the ground and crying. When he saw the red mark on my left face, his brows suddenly furrowed tightly. His eyes were full of worry. Stay away from her in the future. When Qinxia has an attack, her emotions will be unstable and she's prone to anger. I'm afraid you'll get accidentally hurt. I looked up at Liangze. At the moment our eyes met, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Liangze's act was too real. If Qinxia hadn't gone crazy first, I would almost be unable to tell what was real and what was fake at this moment. I just wanted to leave Beijing and Liangze as soon as possible. In the following 2 days, Liangze almost spent all his time with me. As if he was making up for his absence on my birthday. It seemed that he was also planning something. I didn't deliberately show any dissatisfaction either. I accepted all the kindness he showed me. Maybe I was too well behaved. Liangze seemed to sense a vague uneasiness. He often woke up from nightmares at night, and then he would always gently hold me in his arms and murmur in my ear, Jiejia, you won't leave me, right? Everyone who approaches me has a purpose. Only Jiejia truly cares about me, right? Jiejia, I only have you. I love you the most. Let's be together forever. Okay. I pretended to be still asleep and didn't respond. Liangze held me even tighter. With a sick and paranoid voice, he said, Jiejia, I love you. I would even die as long as you're happy, but you can't stop loving me. I can't understand Liangze. If he really loved me, how could he have allowed me to bear the infamous reputation of falling in love with my uncle and being shameless in my previous life? How could he have been willing to send me to a mental hospital to be tortured? He said he loved me in a high-sounding manner. In fact, the only person he loves is himself. Soon, the third day arrived. There were still 5 hours until the flight to the United States. Ling Guanan sent me a message. Do you need me to pick you up? I stood at the corner of the second floor and looked down. Liangze was coming out of the study and planning to go out. In the past 2 days, he had been suppressing his desires, afraid of scaring me. Every time, he only stopped at a kiss, just tasting it slightly. Not having been fully satisfied and released with me, his emotions gradually became irritable. When he looked up and saw me, his hand that was putting on the windbreaker stopped. He curved his lips and smiled. Just like every time in the past, I'm going to the company and will be back soon. I'll make the braised fish that Jiejia likes for dinner tonight, okay? His voice was gentle and pleasant. Unfortunately, it was another complete lie. After that day, Qinxia still kept harassing me, sending all kinds of intimate photos of her and Liangze. some of which were extremely explicit. Her white and tender body was almost covered with crisscrossing whip marks. At first, she just provoked me as usual. Later, she started going crazy and humbly begging, Jiang Rujia, I'm begging you. I can't live without Liang Zhe. Liang Zhe hasn't come to see me for 2 days. I can give up everything, but I can't live without Liang Zhe. I'll die without him. I'm having an attack. Rujia, I'm begging you. I only want to be with Liang Zhe, just Liang Zhe, please. But just now her provocative message came again. Jiang Rujia, look, it's only been 2 days. As long as I crook my finger, Liang Zhe can't resist. He and I are the most suitable for each other. Seeing that I didn't respond for a long time, Liang Zhe slightly frowned. Just as he was about to walk towards me, I calmly raised the corners of my lips. Okay, uncle. Liang Zhe smiled indulgently and helplessly, stopping in his tracks. Jia has been quite fond of calling me uncle these 2 days. You weren't willing to before, I replied indifferently. People always change, uncle will change, and so will I. Suddenly, Liang Zhe was stunned, and his eyes were filled with complex emotions. His thin lips opened and closed, as if he was about to say something, but I spoke first. No matter how we change, I'm still me, and uncle is still uncle, right? After saying that, I smiled and looked at Liang Zhe. Liang Zhe sighed. Jia is still so naughty. Stop talking tongue twisters, go back to your room and rest for a while. I'll be back soon. Goodbye, uncle. I still smiled, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. The moment the villa door closed, my smile faded. Liang Zhe, I hope we never see each other again. 11. On the way out of the Xiangshan villa, the uneasiness in Liang Zhe's heart became more and more obvious in the past 2 days. Although Jiang Rujia was by his side, he could still vaguely feel that there was something between them. Finally, he sent a message to his assistant, check all the people and things that Rujia has come into contact with during this period. When he arrived at the nightclub, Qin Xia was wearing a revealing bunny girl outfit, kneeling on the ground with a blushing face, waiting for him. Her eyes were filled with explicit desire. She was almost driven crazy by her sex addiction. She had thought about solving it by herself and even considered finding another man, but she didn't do it. She was afraid that if she got dirty, Liang Zhe would really abandon her completely. Mr. Liang, when Qin Xia saw Liang Zhe appear, she seemed to have grasped at a straw. Liang Zhe curled his lips and smiled softly. He slowly unbuttoned his clothes, rolled up his sleeves, and then bent down to pinch Qin Xia's chin. Did you hit Rujia in the restaurant last time? His voice was very soft. Upon hearing this, Qin Xia couldn't stop trembling. I didn't. I just explained to Miss Jiang about harassing her. I didn't dare to touch her. The next moment, Liang Zhe directly slapped Qin Xia. With great force, she was knocked to the side, and finger marks immediately appeared on her face. Qin Xia, just because I didn't mention it doesn't mean I don't know. Rujia is my bottom line. After saying that, Qin Xia cried and kept saying that she didn't dare. Liang Zhe grabbed her neck and pressed her onto the bed, violently venting his desires. He was dirty and despicable, but he couldn't taint Jiang Rujia in his heart. Jiang Rujia was a little princess who should live in an ivory tower and never come into contact with such disgusting things in her life. He also couldn't let her know about his unsightly side. Suddenly, the assistant's phone rang inappropriately. Liang Zhe impatiently pulled himself out of his lust and picked up the phone with one hand. Qin Xia underneath him was still trying to please him and attempting to make him hang up the phone. He curled his lips and smiled. He originally wanted to reject the call, but accidentally slid to the answer button. Qin Xia's undisguised voice sounded at the same time as the assistant's voice. Mr. Liang, Miss Jiang has bought a plane ticket to the United States. Suddenly, Liang Zhe's smile froze on his lips. The assistant continued, in 10 minutes, Miss Jiang's flight will take off. Accompanying her is also the eldest son of the Lin family, Lin Guannan. As the assistant finished speaking the last word, Liang Zhe's eyes turned blood red. He kicked Qin Xia away like a madman. Stop Rujia immediately, otherwise, I'll make all of you die. The assistant quickly agreed, and the phone call was hung up. His mind could hardly think, and he was on the verge of collapse. All he could think of were Jiang Rujia's smiling eyes this morning. No wonder he always had a sense of being distant. It turned out that his Jia had been planning to leave him. How could she, how dare she, just thinking that he would lose Jiang Rujia in the future. His heart felt as if it was being gripped by a big hand, and a dull pain came over him. Qin Xia was frightened by Liang Zhe, but she still summoned up the courage to move closer to him and said coquettishly, Mr. Liang, you still have me. I will never leave you. She wanted to pull Liang Zhe back into depravity. Liang Zhe's eyes were cold, The assistant then sent him all the details of Jiang Rujia's itinerary in the past few days, including what happened in the restaurant that day. The waiter had diarrhea. After hearing the commotion outside, he secretly recorded the conversation. When Qin Xiao's voice came from Liang Zhe's phone, she was immediately stunned, as if her soul had been taken away. Do you know that he had sex with me again today? He said he likes having sex with me. Do you know that only I can satisfy him? Liang Zhe played this sentence repeatedly. At the same time, he received a timed email from Jiang Rujia, naked photos and provocative words. Liang Zhe completely lost his mind. The pain in his heart burned like a fire. All his hard work in pretending vanished in an instant, and all his hopes and beauty turned into nothing. Qin Xia still wanted to explain. It's not, Mr. Liang, it's not me. Liang Zhe supported his forehead and smiled bitterly, his body full of hostility. Do you know that by tomorrow night at the latest, the ring I designed myself can be put on Rujia's finger? Do you know that the castle I designed and built will be completed next week? Do you know how long I've been preparing to propose to Rujia? He was so angry that his whole body was shaking. On the day he and Jiang Rujia confirmed their relationship when he was 18, he started preparing and planning. He had been waiting for the right moment. He didn't deliberately stand Jiang Rujia up on her birthday, he just wanted to give her a bigger surprise. But unexpectedly he underestimated Qin Xia and the jealousy of women. Qin Xia, now that Rujia is gone, do you think you can take her place? Do you think you're worthy? Liang Zhe kicked Qin Xia again. This time, it hit her chest directly, and she vomited a mouthful of blood. He glanced at her in disgust and then left directly. Qin Xia still wanted to chase after him, but was firmly held down by the bodyguards. 1 second before boarding the plane, I was informed that there was a problem with my visa and was taken to the VIP lounge. When Liang Zhe's assistant saw me, he heaved a big sigh of relief. The back of his shirt was soaked with sweat. It seemed that he had put in a lot of effort to stop me within 10 minutes. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. Lin Guanan had applied for a flight route in advance, and my original intention wasn't to take this flight that had already taken off either. Miss Jiang, even if you and Mr. Liang had a quarrel, you can't just leave like this. I gave a low laugh. Looking at his embarrassed expression, I said, you've been with Mr. Liang for 10 years and know what kind of person he is, but I think you should also know what kind of person I am. When Liang Zhe did these things behind my back, he should have expected the outcome between us. I'm not making a scene, I just want to leave him. Is that so difficult? The assistant paused for a moment but then quickly said, Mr. Liang loves you very much, he loves himself. Jia, how can you doubt my love for you? Liang Zhe arrived very quickly. When I turned around to look at him, his face was pale, his hair was messy, and he hadn't even had time to fasten the buttons of his shirt. Mr. Liang, who was always calm, steady, and unruly, today, he was really out of sorts. He walked quickly towards me. I subconsciously took a step back. He immediately stopped at a distance, his eyes full of hurt. Jia, I know you can't accept what I've done, but I love you, from beginning to end. The only person I love is you. Trust me this one time, okay? He begged humbly, but it somehow brought back the memories of my previous life. At that time, after I exposed him, he was still arrogant, because he knew in his heart that as long as I was still making a fuss, it meant I loved him. So he was unscrupulous, and now he has realized that he is about to lose me, so he is starting to panic. No, Jia, you said you would love me forever and never leave me. Were you lying to me? Liang Zhe asked me again, hoping to play on our past relationship, but he didn't know that all of this had long been consumed along with the past. I curved my lips and smiled. It was uncle who lied to me first, wasn't it? With one action and the corresponding reaction. We're even now. As the last syllable fell, Lin Guanan called me. I responded. Just as I was about to walk past Liang Zhe, he held my arm tightly. Jia, you can't leave, and you won't be able to leave either. I'm in charge here. Lin Guanan at the door gave a sneer. His tone was calm but full of the imposing manner of a superior. Mr. Liang, you're not in charge here. He came over and took my hand. When our fingers intertwined, Liang Zhe clenched his fists, and the veins on his hands bulged. Lin Guanan still smiled. Mr. Liang, you'd better think about how to face the reporters outside. After all, you're quite famous now. You're probably the first one to play with your lover to death. 13. Liang Zhe still wanted to chase after me, but he was surrounded by a group of reporters. He looked at Jiang Rujia's back unwillingly, pushing through the crowd, and the light in his eyes gradually faded. Instead, there was a dead silence and emptiness. Suddenly, a string of memories that both belonged and didn't belong to him rushed in. The pictures overlapped, and the past life and this life were completely different in the memory. After Jeong Rujia found out about his affair with Chin Xia, he let the mistake stand and frankly admitted everything. Jeong Rujia couldn't accept it and made a scene like a crazy person, but she was so silly. How could she possibly bring him down on her own? With just a few words and actions from him, everything was resolved. He wanted to use hypnosis to make Jeong Rujia approve of him, but when he saw her suffering, he felt extremely distressed, so he brought Jeong Rujia back to the Xiangshan villa. After only 3 months, he told her again and again, sex and love can be separated. I love you, so I can't bear to do such bad things to you, but I'm also human, I have desires and cravings. Jia, can you have some pity on me? Stop being angry with me. Jia, I know you love me, but if you love me, you should also love everything about me, right? Love my despicableness, love my dirtiness and filth. But Jeong Rujia was like a broken doll. All the light had disappeared from her eyes. He started to panic. He could lose everything, but he couldn't lose Jeong Rujia. He tried his best to be good to Jeong Rujia, trying to go back to the past. He even hated Chin Xia and made decisions on his own. If nothing had happened, he would have married Jeong Rujia happily, had their own children, and they would have grown old together. But he didn't expect that Jeong Rujia would lock herself in the room and set the villa on fire. When he found out, he rushed into the sea of fire like a madman, ignoring all the obstacles. The burning flames scalded his skin, but he didn't care at all. He only wanted to find Jeong Rujia, but at that time, she had already stopped breathing. Regret and guilt intertwined in his heart, and he was in so much pain that he could hardly breathe. In the end, he also committed suicide in the sea of fire. When he came back to his senses, Liang Zhe let out a painful growl. Like a desperate beast, he pushed through the crowd, stumbling and rushing towards Jeong Rujia's direction with all his might. But in the end, he didn't catch anything, only an illusion. Jeong Rujia was gone. She completely abandoned him. Whether in the previous life or this life, he had been abandoned by Jeong Rujia. Obviously, they had agreed to be together forever. He cried hoarsely, without any dignity, like a child who had made a mistake. He repeated over and over again, forgive me, forgive me. 14 inches. The 3rd month after arriving in the United States, I have gradually adapted to the life here. I shuttle between the dormitory and the laboratory every day and am no longer confined by love and affection. Lin Guannan and I are now friends, confidants, and the best partners. The ideals that were not realized in my previous life have finally been fulfilled in this life. Later, I heard news about Liang Zhe. It was half a year later. Lin Guannan told me about it. When Liang Zhe was originally going to be imprisoned for kicking Chin Xia to death, the Liang family produced his medical records indicating mental illness, so he was sent to a mental hospital instead. At first, Lin Guannan thought Liang Zhe was pretending. Unexpectedly, Liang Zhe was truly crazy. He holds a doll every day, changes its clothes for it, and gently combs and braids its hair. He likes to hold the doll when he sleeps and sometimes stares at it and cries every night. He always says affectionately to the doll, I love you, Jia. I will only love you forever and ever. You don't have to love everything about me. I can change for you. Coming back with him was also Chin Xia, my senior sister. You, don't leave me, don't leave me. The staff are often scared by him when they do the night inspection, and sometimes they avoid him. When I heard this, I was stunned for a moment, but in the end, I didn't say anything. Everyone has their own destiny, and this is the ending he chose for himself. After this incident happened in the Liang family, although there wasn't much impact on their interests, their reputation was inevitably damaged, so, they completely removed Liang Zhe from the family register and drove him out of the Liang family. Liang Zhe is now in a mental hospital. He is all alone and helpless. The rest of his life will probably be like this. Story 2. Throughout her life, Feng Yu regarded me as her arch-nemesis. After every exam, she would always ask about my scores first. If I scored a few points higher than her, she would curse under her breath. When she heard that I was dating Lu Shichuan, she secretly confessed to him, but after being rejected, she flew into a rage. Later, we attended different universities, and I thought I had finally escaped from her. However, when she learned about my successful startup, she decided to mimic me and start her own business, only to quickly go bankrupt. She blamed all her failures on me, ambushed me outside my home, and stabbed me multiple times. Reborn. Back to our first year of high school, she swore that this time around, she would live a better life than me. To my surprise, her strategy involved copying everything I did in my past life. It seems she never heard the story of Dongshire trying to mimic Shishi's frown. 01 Reborn. Back to our first year of high school, the teacher I disliked the most in my previous life, bald teacher Lee, began the class by trying to put everyone in their place. Don't think just because you did well in the middle school exams, you'll do well in the college entrance exams, especially the girls, who tend to falter in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Many just can't grasp it no matter how hard they study. Fengyu raised her hand high without waiting for Teacher Lee to call on her and walked up to the podium. Teacher, what you said is incorrect. You claim that girls lack stamina in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Do you have any evidence? Teacher Lee tapped on his desk. I've been teaching for over a decade, and my experience is the evidence, Fengyu countered. Teacher Lee, taking our school as an example, the recent graduates from the third year had girls scoring on average 0.2 points higher than boys in mathematics upon entry, and 0.5 points higher in the college entrance exams, showing an even more distinct advantage. Over the past 5 years, girls have outscored boys in the science comprehensive tests in 3 of those years, and in 4 years, the top science student in the college entrance exams was a girl. From the data, girls are not lacking in stamina. Wouldn't you say your experience is somewhat biased? Fengyu stood straight, her gaze piercing as she looked at Teacher Lee. Sunlight streamed in from the window, converging upon her. Both the boys and girls in the class began to applaud her. Teacher Lee stood awkwardly in place, and after a moment, he said, "You're Fengyu, right? Well then, study hard these next few years, and I'll be watching. Do you have anything else to say? If not, you may return to your seat." But Fengyu wasn't ready to let the topic drop just like that. Holding her head high, her face a mix of pride and defiance, she challenged, "Teacher Lee, if by the time we graduate, the girls score higher than the boys in the college entrance exams, would you be willing to retract your prejudice against girls and refrain from making such statements in the future?" Teacher Lee, and she locked eyes for a few seconds before he averted his gaze and reluctantly agreed with a simple, "Okay." The whole class cheered for Fengyu. Lu Shichuan, the esteemed young master of the Jing Circle and my fiancé in the previous life, watched her for a long while as Fengyu walked down from the podium. She looked like a triumphant hero, but only she and I knew that in my previous life, all those cheers were for me. 02 Fengyu said that this time around, she would definitely beat me. Unexpectedly, her strategy to surpass me involved exactly replicating my every move from the previous life. She mimicked how I rebutted Teacher Lee and instantly became a celebrity in the class. She even copied the speech I made in the previous life to run for class president. She started imitating my style from the past as well. I knew she was doing this to catch Lu Shichuan's attention. Fengyu had harbored a crush on Lu Shichuan for many years, but he always kept people at a distance, claiming he was uninterested in dating. It wasn't until rumors spread about his interest in me that You finally mustered the courage to confess to him. But Lu Shichuan rejected her. Unwilling to give up, she asked, "Then what kind of girl do you like?" Lu Shichuan smiled shyly. "Mushroom haircut, straight bangs, black-rimmed glasses, someone smart, good at studying, and with a cool personality." That was me. After being reborn, Fengyu cut off her long ponytail, with her bangs neatly combed into a mushroom cut and black-framed glasses perched on her nose. She actually believed that Lu Shichuan liked me for my fashion sense. After school, only Fengyu and I were left in the classroom. She said with a smug expression, "This afternoon, Lu Shichuan looked at me 17 times. Your fiancé is falling for me." I noticed Lu Shichuan watching her too. At the time, I didn't understand. I thought he liked me in his past life because of who I was, not realizing it was the mushroom cut and black-framed glasses that caught his attention. But something felt off. In the past life, his feelings for me didn't develop this quickly. When we first started high school, Lu Shichuan just thought I was a show-off. Coming from a conservative family, he was taught to be modest and unassuming, never to boast about goals before achieving them. Unlike me, who boldly declared upon enrollment, "I will top the monthly exam to show Mrs. Lee the strength of a leading lady," he found me childish and lacking subtlety, even a bit annoying. He invited the whole class to his birthday party, except for me, but I liked him. Probably what they call a physical attraction. I couldn't help but smile foolishly whenever I saw him, wanting to get closer and breathe in his scent. So, I confessed my feelings to him. I showed up at his doorstep with a small gift, asking why he hadn't invited me to his birthday party. he didn't expect me to ask such a direct question, taking advantage of his stunned silence. I tiptoed up and kissed him on the lips. Lu Shichuan, I like you. I've wanted to tell you for a long time. If you end up liking me too, you have to let me know. Of course, he didn't accept my confession, but later, I became obsessed with physics, pestering a senior who had won a gold medal in a physics competition with questions every day. Lu Shichuan cornered me in the hallway, asking if what I said at his doorstep still stood, but about romantic matters, I didn't think too much. After all, I wasn't reborn to engage in petty romances. After school, I went straight to the hair salon and replaced my mushroom cut with long, black, straight hair. I swapped my glasses for contact lenses. Now, nobody could confuse me with Feng Yu. Unexpectedly, my change in style caused quite a stir at school. Someone posted on the forum, "Did a new transfer student join class 3? I declare her my goddess," along with a picture of me with long hair. The post received countless replies. "So beautiful, I want to be her desk mate. What's her name?" Finally, someone recognized me. "Doesn't she look a lot like Gu Xiangxiang? Did Gu Xiangxiang get hair extensions?" I jumped in to confirm. Yes, originally unnoticed in this lifetime, I suddenly became a campus celebrity. The next day, students from the neighboring class gathered at our classroom door, eager to see what I looked like in person. The usually boisterous sports committee member, who had been brotherly to me just yesterday, seemed shy speaking to me today. Even Zhou Quan, the senior who had tutored me in physics competitions last lifetime, lingered his gaze on me for several seconds when delivering materials to our class. Only Lu Shichuan remained indifferent. Whenever he passed by, he would not spare me a glance, as if fearing that looking at me would infect him with a virus. In the school's beauty contest on the forum, I was leading by a large margin, yet, Lu Shichuan commented below, "I think Feng Yu is prettier." The classmates thought the crown prince of the capital was blind. Feng Yu was smug. "What's the use of those people liking you? Can they provide you resources when you start a business?" She didn't understand. I didn't succeed in business by relying on men, but through solid technical skills and keen market insights. In my past life, I devoted all my energy to studying. Living again, I realized that beyond academics, there are so many worthwhile things to do. On weekends, I accompanied my grandfather to the chess stall under the big tree, watching him win and modestly claim his skills were decent. I finally confronted the swindler who targeted the elderly with health products, directly calling the police. My grandfather had suffered liver failure due to his medicines in the past. I discovered the large bottle of Coke my grandmother had hidden under the bed. She had to throw it away right there and then. Grandma was distressed. That cost over 10 yuan. I scared her, saying, "If you get diabetes, insulin injections will cost you thousands every month, plus, you might get skin ulcers that won't heal properly. And if things get worse, you might even need an amputation." Frightened, she threw away the Coke herself. In my previous life, all those terrifying things I mentioned turned out to be true. During dinner, my mom and dad were discussing, why isn't the stock price rising even though the company's product sales have increased so much? Could there be hidden problems? I immediately recognized that this was the company whose stock had soared 20-fold after my dad sold his shares in my previous life. He had made the right call. He just lacked confidence in his own judgment. I missed out on the chance to become the child of a wealthy family because of that. I asked my dad, "Why are you so sure it'll go up?" My dad went into detail about his research. He had counted the trucks delivering goods at the factory gate and even talked to the security guards about the operational rate. Moreover, the company was in a semi-monopolistic industry, ensuring a margin of profit. Logical and well-founded. My mom, an experienced accountant, nodded in agreement repeatedly. Having studied an MBA in my previous life, I found my dad's analysis professionally convincing. I thought for a moment and said to him, "You guys own a house and a car and have no debts. Even if you lost all 200,000, it wouldn't really affect our current quality of life, right?" Seeing them nod, I persuaded my dad to delete the stock trading app and reinstall it 6 months later, to prevent him from selling the shares secretly. There are so many wealthy heirs in the world, I shouldn't be missing out. 05 The first monthly exam of the 11th grade came quickly. On the day the results were released, Feng Yu ran to ask our class teacher, "Teacher, how much did Gu Xiangxiang score overall?" Teacher Lin avoided the question, simply stating, "Feng Yu, you did very well, you're the top of the grade, and Gu Xiangxiang, that's Gu Xiangxiang's private matter." Unsatisfied, Feng Yu rummaged through my desk for the score sheet. "You only ranked 20th in the Grade, you've regressed, determined. She looked at Lu Shichuan, who was entering with a basketball, and told me, Gu Xiangxiang, in this life, I am the smart girl. I didn't expect her obsession with Lu Shichuan to be so deep in my previous life. When Lu Shichuan rejected her confession, he said he liked smart girls who were good at their studies. After that, Feng Yu began to study day and night. She studied until 1 in the morning, woke up at 5, worked on problems for 2 hours, and then went to school. Her desk was always piled high with tutorial books. She participated in no extracurricular activities, and she would get impatient if someone spoke to her. Everyone thought she was a bit of an oddball. She became more and more reclusive, and Lu Shichuan naturally never paid her any attention. He even stopped inviting her to birthday parties, not wanting to disturb her studies. But Feng Yu never ranked first. Once, when she heard I had topped the grade again, she tore up her test paper in front of everyone and stomped on it. Her classmates thought she was obsessed and dared not get close to her. This time, she finally managed to surpass me, but what she didn't anticipate was that aside from initially saying she was pretty on a forum, Lu Shichuan showed no interest in pursuing her. When she made advances, he distanced himself. During a PE class, the boys were sweating it out on the basketball court. After scoring a three-pointer, Lu Shichuan lifted his shirt to wipe off sweat, revealing his lean waist. The onlooking students whistled. He then realized and quickly pulled down his shirt. Feng Yu squeezed through the crowd to the edge of the court, poking him on the shoulder from behind and handing him a bottle of mineral water. Oh, wow, has brother Lu started dating a girlfriend? So, he's showing off his relationship in public now. The area erupted with playful teasing. Everyone knew that bringing water on the basketball court was a privilege reserved for girlfriends. Feng Yu's face turned crimson unexpectedly. Lu Shichuan turned around and coolly told his teammates, "Don't talk nonsense." Pointing to the red water bottle at the side, he politely and gently thanked Feng Yu. "Thank you, but I brought my own water." I'm not sure if Lu Shichuan likes Feng Yu, but I am sure he doesn't like me. He showed off his strength in our sparring class, nearly injuring me in my past life. When Feng Yu stabbed at me, I saw her pull out the knife. I could have dodged if I had been quicker, but I wasn't fast enough, nor strong enough. After being reborn, I decided to practice martial arts. I wasn't naturally talented, but I trained exceptionally hard. 2 weeks later, my coach said I had mastered the basic moves and could start sparring with other students. My sparring partner was Lu Shichuan. He seemed startled when he saw me, then his brow furrowed, and he didn't bother to hide his hostility. He fought like he was on a battlefield, putting full force into every punch and kick. Holding a shield, I was pushed back by the force of his blows until I hit the wall. Then he struck fiercely again, and I finally lost my balance and fell on the mat behind me. Even the coach couldn't stand it. "What are you doing, Lu Shichuan? I asked you to practice the techniques, not to use your physical strength to bully a girl." My arm was cramping, and tears streamed down my face as I cried uncontrollably. "If you have a problem with me, Lu Shichuan, just say it. Why are you acting crazy?" He looked at me coldly. "I won't let you hurt her." I said I just wanted to protect myself, but he didn't believe me. After drying my tears, I realized I had cried out one of my contact lenses. I decided to take the other one out too, put on glasses, and retied my hair. Lu Shichuan froze. He stared at me for several seconds, then couldn't help but ask, "Gu Xiangxiang, have we met somewhere before?" I took a few days off school and returned to T University to see my mentor from my previous life. When I arrived, Professor Lin was giving a lecture to undergraduates waiting at the back of the classroom. I heard her passionate voice echoing in the hallway. At 18 in my last life, I was inspired by her passion and went through a lot of effort to join her research group. Now, she had just received her qualification as a master's advisor. Young and promising, her future was bright. However, since she wasn't yet famous, the school didn't allocate her many resources. After class, I stopped her. "Professor Lin, I'd like to join your research group." She rejected me outright. I explained that I was proficient in programming and had self-studied the course, capable of handling research tasks, but she still wasn't interested in letting me join. "Miss Gu, it's good to have an interest in research, but this project is only open to undergraduates." I played my trump card. "Professor Lin, does your group lack equipment? I can provide funding. Is 1 million enough?" In my previous life, the artificial intelligence project she led had started 3 years before I enrolled, but the project was expensive to run, and she had struggled to secure sufficient funding. For the first few years, the project remained in the theoretical phase. It was not until the year I enrolled, when artificial intelligence became a national priority, that she obtained enough funding this time. Money was not an issue. The stocks my father chose increased 20-fold in 6 months. I pulled out the New Year's money I had been saving since childhood and asked him to buy 50,000 for me too. Thus, by the second semester of the first year of high school, I had earned my first million. When I came to do research, Professor Lin was taken aback. "Come, write these few programs for me. I want to see your basic skills." During the week I didn't go to school, I was incredibly busy. I woke up at 6 a.m. every day and went straight to T University by subway. I got to know the senior students in the group well, added equipment to the lab, and even attended the first aid training as Professor Lin requested. During this time, Gu Shichuan and Feng Yu sent me countless WeChat messages. "Gu Shichuan, Gu Xiangxiang, why aren't you coming to school? Did I hurt you? Can I come to see you? Just reply if you're okay." "Gu Xiangxiang, I'm sorry, I won't do it again." Feng Yu was agitated. "Where did you go? Gu Xiangxiang, where did you go? Why aren't you coming to school? Did your grandfather die again? Reply to me quickly." Feng Yu and I competed for the top rank in our grade, but I never took it to heart. But her comment about my grandfather crossed the line. It was time to give her a warning. In my previous life, at this time, my grandfather had died from liver damage caused by fraudulent health products. I hadn't gone to school for several days. Feng Yu brazenly barged into the memorial hall. I asked her what she wanted, and she casually waved her hand. "I thought you were getting tutored by some famous teacher, but it turns out someone in your family died. That's a relief." Even the neighbor couldn't stand it. "How can you speak like that? So disrespectful." Feng Yu turned and left, cursing the old lady. Idiot. Looking back, those days must have been the highlight of her previous life. That monthly test was the only time in 3 years of high school that Feng Yu scored higher than me, and she took it as proof that her abilities were comparable to mine. In this life, Feng Yu once again came to my house. My grandfather was watering the flowers at the door, greeting her with a smile. "You must be Xiangxiang's classmate, right? Wait here, I'll call her." My grandfather went inside, leaving us alone. Feng Yu squinted her eyes. "Heh, this old fool is still alive." I clenched my fists in my pockets. "Come with me. You wanted to know where I've been these past few days, right?" I took her to a small alley behind the street. There were no cameras here. "Feng Yu, today I'll teach you how to speak properly." I grabbed her collar, clenched my fist, and started punching her face. Her blood stained my hands as she began to cry and scream. I pulled out a smelly rag from under the old bicycle seat and stuffed it into her mouth. "Wipe your mouth, speak cleaner from now on." Since she kept targeting me, I decided to beat her until she submitted. Her glasses shattered, her nose skewed, her school uniform tore, and clumps of her hair fell out. Tears mixed with the blood flowing from her nostrils, dripping into her mouth. I asked her, "Feng Yu, will you learn to speak properly?" She nodded hurriedly, fear evident in her eyes for the first time. Turns out she was just a bully who feared the tough. I pulled the rag out of her mouth and watched her lean against the wall, violently vomiting. "Feng Yu, tell me, whose family had someone die?" She sobbed and admitted, "It's someone in my family died." "Stop hitting me, you're going to kill me." Only then did I realize that the fiercely ruthless Feng Yu could have such a cowardly moment. Laughable. It was just a superficial injury. It seems that she had never seen so much blood before, except for the day in her previous life when she killed me. Only when blood flowed from her own body could she feel pain and fear. Behind me, a young voice full of hatred for evil rang out. "Weren't you the one who said you wouldn't harm her?" It was Lu Shichuan. The fading light of the setting sun shone from behind him. I couldn't make out his expression, only feeling as though lifetimes were between us. After I died in my previous life, my soul drifted for 2 to 3 years. I watched the people who loved me weep for me, wanting to comfort them but powerless to do so. They couldn't hear my voice. I watched as Lu Shichuan's emotions spiraled out of control, and then gradually stabilize. I thought he had finally started a new life, but just when I was relieved, Lu Shichuan went to the riverbank where we had our first date and fell into the river late at night. He was rescued by someone fishing. I thought he would survive, but the doctor declared that he had consumed alcohol and a large amount of antibiotics. He was determined to die. In this life, Lu Shichuan is still a slender young man with the clear eyes of youth. I told him, "Stop getting involved in the matters between Feng Yu and me. It's better for both of us to keep our distance." But how could a 16-year-old boy, who couldn't stand injustice, allow bullying to happen in school? He coldly walked past me, lifted the bloodied Feng Yu, and draped his school uniform over her. From that day on, he escorted her to and from school, treating me as a dangerous threat. After that, I rarely went to school. My mother helped me get extended leave from school. I don't know what she told the principal, but the school agreed. I only needed to go to school once a week and take the regular school exams, so I spent my days between T University and the gym. At this moment, the wave of artificial intelligence was still under the surface, and neither the academic nor business worlds were sure if those grand ideas could become a reality, but the reborn me knew that this wave would surge in a few years. Once the equipment was ready, Professor Lin immediately posted recruitment notices. She was ready to gather her team, but at that time, her fame was limited and the project funds were scarce, attracting few applicants. I went to the undergraduate department of T University and found the members of my previous life's project team: Senior Gu Yan, Senior Zheng Wen Liang, Senior Qing Hao. I persuaded each one, ensuring they all submitted their applications and were once again selected by Professor Lin. Our project focused on AI industrial robots. Traditional robots could only replace humans in performing predefined repetitive tasks, but they were incapable of troubleshooting or handling unexpected situations on their own. If a screw got stuck, the entire production line would halt, waiting for a worker to solve the problem. But AI robots could think for themselves. They could learn, like humans, to remove a worn-out screw and replace it with a new one. Although we had successfully developed this type of robot in my previous life and I remembered several key technical points, the project progress wasn't as smooth as I imagined. The other members did not have memories of their previous lives, and there were many details in their parts that I was not familiar with. A lot of work had to be started from scratch. I was busy with work in the lab, and Feng Yu was not idle either. After being beaten up last time, she was still uneasy, worried that I was secretly working hard without her knowing. She came to track me again. When she saw me, I was buying nails with Senior Gu Yan at the building materials market. Feng Yu tentatively asked, "So you've stopped going to school and started working as a contractor?" I nonchalantly nodded, unconvinced. She followed us back to T University, where she was stopped by security. Next to the security booth stood Lu Shichuan. Feng Yu evidently hadn't expected me to call him over. She hastily concealed the darkness and malice in her eyes, replacing it with a demure, innocent demeanor. I smiled at Lu Shichuan. I don't know what's up with Feng Yu. After the beating I gave her last time, she still keeps hovering around me. Why don't you keep her in check? Feng Yu's expression was sour. I wonder how she's going to explain this to Lu Shichuan in the following weeks. Feng Yu anxiously kept tabs on my every move. It wasn't until the next monthly exam that she finally eased up on her vigilance. She topped the grade effortlessly, and me, having lived 2 lifetimes, fell out of the top 50 for the first time. I hadn't touched a high school textbook in a month. During class, Teacher Lee from the math department publicly shamed me. Some students aim too high but can't even grasp middle school knowledge, yet they talk about joining research at University T. Am I right, Gu Xiangxiang? I stuffed my papers into my backpack. Teacher Lee, the principal approved my leave. If you have any objections, you should take it up with him. I'm leaving now. I still have bugs to fix in the lab. Unexpectedly, Feng Yu chased after me as I left the classroom. She asked in astonishment, "You joined that research project from your past life?" Since Teacher Lee had already mentioned it, there was no point in hiding it from her, so I nodded. "Is there any point?" Feng Yu asked me. "Lu Shichuan dislikes you so much. Even if your project is excellent, you won't get any investment from Lu's corporation." I casually replied, "Then don't worry about it, top student." I couldn't be bothered to explain to her that in my past life, Lu's corporation invested in my project not because of Lu Shichuan's personal favor, but because my technological achievements were valuable to their enterprise. Our developed robots could replace workers in dangerous operations, reducing production costs and accidents. Back then, our team received thousands of investment offers from around the world. Everyone wanted a piece of this major technological revolution. Choosing Lu's corporation was simply because I loved Lu Shichuan, nothing more. In the blink of an eye, the project had been going on for over a year. Progress was much faster than in my previous life, but a core problem remained unresolved. In my past life, it was Senior Qing Hao who had a breakthrough and rewrote a segment of code after a heartbreak, which finally got the model to work. But now, he was 3 years younger than when he joined the project in my previous life and hadn't yet met the girl who would break his heart and drive him to code through the night. That's when I thought of Zhou Quan, my high school senior who coached me in the physics competition and was now a freshman at University T. He was the smartest and most creative person I knew. Maybe he could bring some new progress. Professor Lin took to him instantly, praising the test code he wrote. He's a true genius, it's rare for University T to produce such talent. Zhou Quan blushed at her compliments after my rebirth. I've been so busy, I need to keep up with the research project and my fitness. I know that once my project succeeds and gains social recognition, Fengyu will definitely feel upstaged. She'll become jealous and act against me this time. I must be capable of protecting myself. Outside the huge floor-to-ceiling windows of the gym, the sky was filled with the glow of dusk, and it was time for school to end. That's when I noticed Lu Shichuan had arrived. Standing at the door watching me hit the punching bag, I asked him, "Why didn't you escort Fengyu home from school today?" He replied, "There's a parent-teacher meeting today, and she stayed to share her study experiences." I glanced at my sports watch, feeling the date was familiar, then remembered what happened on this day in my past life. I immediately ran towards the school. "What are you doing?" Lu Shichuan asked, puzzled, as he chased after me. When we reached the school entrance, his anxiety grew, and he quickly stepped in front of me with his long legs. "Are you going back to school to hit someone?" I didn't have time to explain, and breathlessly told him, "Go to the rooftop and find Hu Xueme, don't let her jump off." He paused for a couple of seconds, decided to trust me, and hurried towards the rooftop. During the last parent-teacher meeting, as the top student of the grade, I stayed behind to share my learning experiences. After finishing my speech, I leaned against the corridor wall, waiting for my mom so we could go home together. Suddenly, I heard bald Teacher Lee say, "Could the parents of these students please stand up?" I saw a few parents hesitantly rise to their feet. Teacher Lee angrily addressed them, "Why is it that I teach all these students, yet someone else's child is first in the grade, and your children are at the bottom? Reflect on this. Have you taken responsibility for your child's performance? Have you fulfilled your duties as parents? If your child is not doing well, you need to find a solution. Let's hear it. What are your plans to help improve your child's grades?" The parents who stood up were at a loss for words, while those seated were visibly uncomfortable. A tall man in the front row stooped and bowed his head, beginning to apologize softly to Teacher Lee. Teacher Lee arrogantly demanded, "I can't hear you, speak up." In the corridor, Hu Xueme, who was waiting with me for the meeting to end, was biting her lip, her expression one of despair. That was her father. He was dressed in a worn-out padded jacket, meekly admitting his shortcomings, accepting every insult from Teacher Lee. I told Hu Xueme, "Teacher Lee is an idiot, just wait, I'm going to confront him." I stormed into the classroom. Perhaps the parents aren't aware, but Teacher Lee hardly teaches during class. He just lets students study on their own while he smokes and makes phone calls in the corridor. After every test, he pressures the students with lower scores to join his tutoring classes outside school, charging 1,000 yuan per hour. Teacher Lee, infuriated, yelled at me, "What nonsense are you spouting? Get out." I ignored him and continued, "I think the parents really need to consider replacing an irresponsible teacher. Not every parent has the capability to tutor their children, but a teacher does. It's just that Teacher Lee isn't willing to do it for free. Also, Teacher Lee, my good grades have nothing to do with your teaching. I studied on my own. Stop using me as an example." That day, Hu Xueme told me that she had already planned to jump off the school rooftop. Her family couldn't afford the tutoring fees. She felt her existence brought endless humiliation to her father. As dusk fell, my heart pounded. The moment I rushed onto the rooftop, I saw Lu Shichuan embracing Hu Xueme from behind. Just as she was about to climb over the railing, I yelled to her, "Don't jump, we're getting a new teacher next week. Your dad said you are his pride." As night fell, the three of us stood there, gasping for breath, tears streaming down our faces in silence. Back in the classroom, the parent-teacher meeting had already ended. Teacher Lee was discussing the prices for his tutoring classes with a few remaining parents. Hu Xueme's father looked embarrassed. "Teacher, let me think of a solution. It's my fault, I don't want to hold my child back." Teacher Lee impatiently said, "If we delay any further, it'll be too late." Later, Hu Xueme's father pleaded with Fengyu, "Classmate, could you spare some time to share your study tips with Xueme? You're so outstanding." Fengyu responded indifferently, "I don't have any tips." But when she saw Lu Shichuan enter the classroom, her attitude changed. She angrily pointed at Teacher Lee. "Teacher Lee, do you know that running private tutoring classes is illegal?" Under her guidance, Hu Xueme's academic performance improved rapidly. Hu Xueme's father was so grateful that he not only wrote a letter of commendation to the school but also invited journalists to promote her good deeds. However, this did not resolve the doubts in Lu Shichuan's mind. After school, he came to the Sonda classroom and asked me, "How did you know Hu Xueme was going to commit suicide?" I could have made up an excuse to deceive him, but I suddenly felt that it was pitiful for him to be deceived back and forth by two people who had been reborn, so I decided to tell him the truth, because I have been reborn. All these things have happened before in my previous life. Actually, Fengyu has also been reborn. Lu Shichuan stood frozen in place after a long time. He asked, "So, the girl with glasses that has a story with me, that's you, right?" Ever since Lu Shichuan was very young, he would inexplicably envision a girl in his mind. She had a mushroom haircut and wore glasses, but her face was unclear. He could not remember the past clearly, but he always felt an inexplicable heartache for her. It was not until his first year of high school when he met Fengyu that the girl in his mind finally had a face. Lu Shichuan was somewhat disappointed. He didn't feel anything special for her, even though he had previously thought there would be a romantic connection between them. But when Fengyu claimed that I bullied her, and later he saw me hitting her, he still felt sorry for her. He felt it was his duty to protect her. "Why didn't you believe her then?" I asked. He said, "I noticed that every time Fengyu did something good, she would subconsciously look for my reaction. I was always unsure if I was just being paranoid, but on the day of the parent-teacher meeting, she originally didn't want to deal with Mr. Lee's issue. It was only after she saw me that she suddenly changed her attitude. That day I was sure she was putting on a show for me. She was acting for you, right? That also explains why she wore frame glasses even though she's not nearsighted." I nodded in acknowledgement. "Then why don't you play along with her at least until she helps Hushuime improve her grades?" 14 These days, Fengyu could be said to be in the limelight. The guaranteed admission to T University unsurprisingly went to her. She remained the perpetual top student in her grade and became a well-loved internet celebrity scholar for her helpful actions. Truly a paragon of virtue and talent. A reporter specifically interviewed her mother, who eagerly shared her educational experiences while putting me down. Fengyu had a classmate from the same school since they were kids. That girl scored 2 points higher than Yaya in the middle school exam, but after entering high school, that girl stopped studying and said she wanted to join some research project. At the time, Yaya was really anxious, afraid she couldn't keep up. I told Yaya, "Don't bother with all those fancy things. A student's main task is to study," and look now. Yaya has been guaranteed admission to T University. That girl only scored about 500 in the recent mock exam, and her project hasn't yielded anything. Fengyu politely tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, stop, she'll be upset." The host smiled appreciatively and asked, "So Fengyu, what major do you want to study in college, and what do you want to do in the future?" Fengyu smiled confidently. "I want to study artificial intelligence, to let machines work in place of humans and contribute to the development of the country's emerging industries." The audience erupted in applause. Nobody expected such a grand vision from a high school student. Speaking of which, I really did score just over 500 on the mock exam. I hadn't done high school practice problems in years, and they felt very foreign in the exam room. Luckily, there was progress in my project. One day at 3 in the morning, my phone started buzzing. Qinghao and Zhou Quan were flooding the chat group, saying that they had resolved an issue that had been stuck before. I immediately got out of bed and took a taxi to T University. When I arrived at the laboratory at 4 in the morning, the others were already there. "Let's cut to the chase, launch the program and have the robot execute the sorting instructions." This task might be straightforward for humans, but robots can easily mix up items of the same color. Moreover, each time a new type of item is introduced, the robot, lacking previous experience, tends to make frequent mistakes. Ultimately, existing machines struggle to autonomously reason and make decisions like humans, adapting to new situations. But our robot has succeeded. Its mechanical arm deftly sorted and moved dozens of previously unseen items from the basket to designated spots, organizing them meticulously. There were no hesitations, no omissions, no errors. The lab was silent for a few seconds, followed by deafening cheers. We had finally succeeded. T University is a nationally renowned institution with strict access control, making it difficult for ordinary visitors to explore. After Fengyu received her direct admission, she finally had the chance to enter the campus. The first place she visited was our lab. None of us students were there that day. Professor Lin, unaware of the grudge between her and me, treated Fengyu as a potential high school student interested in AI, enthusiastically demonstrating our robot to her. "Fengyu, try giving it a few commands and see if it understands you." Fengyu, somewhat surprised, tentatively issued commands. The robot responded by lifting its right arm, feigning a faint, and picking up a crumpled paper from the floor. Fengyu skillfully made conversation. "Are robots this smart now? If this were applied in industry, I wonder how much labor could be saved, Professor Lin, unsuspecting, replied, yes, we're already in talks with some factories. Feng Yu instantly became alert. She knew that once this achievement gained social recognition, I would be in the spotlight. At that time, her status as a direct admit to T University would seem insignificant. After all, thousands of T University students graduate each year, but only a few succeed in starting their own businesses. She came up with an idea. Professor Lin, could you give me a reading list on artificial intelligence? I'd like to start studying in advance. Professor Lin, appreciative of her initiative, responded, wait here, I'll go to my office and get it for you. You can play with the robot freely, but don't touch the server next to it. Professor Lin didn't anticipate that as soon as she left, Feng Yu would lock the lab door from the inside. At that time, during a short holiday, the other project members were not local. When I hurriedly arrived, Professor Lin had just had someone break the lock. Feng Yu was still tampering with the robot, and Professor Lin shouted in panic, what did you do? Didn't I tell you not to touch that machine? Ignoring her, Feng Yu looked at me triumphantly. Gu Xiangxiang, guess what I've been up to? The robot lay on the ground, unresponsive to my commands to stand up. Upon closer inspection, I saw that Feng Yu had dismantled many of its components and smashed its legs. Professor Lin nervously checked the server to find the back-end code completely erased. In just 1 hour, Feng Yu had turned our 2 years of hard work into scrap metal. That was our Robot 001, our pride and joy. I burst into tears. Feng Yu, if you wanted to do research, you could have just worked hard on your own. Why destroy someone else's work? I never competed with you for the top grades or the direct admission. I've always focused on my research without harming your interests. Why target me? Why delete our code? My distress brought her immense satisfaction, and she smirked. Gu Xiangxiang, I just don't like you. It's no use panicking now. I've completely deleted the code. It can't be recovered anymore, Feng Yu declared in the video, her voice echoing in the auditorium. But I've already backed it up for you. I'll gather a few PhD students, form a new team, and publish this technology under my name. Do you think the Liu family would invest in me, given my relationship with Liu Shichuan? Her words disgusted me. I pulled out my phone, intending to call the police, but Feng Yu quickly pulled a knife from her bag and held it against Professor Lin's throat, threatening, dare to call the police, I'll kill her if you do. A few days later, our high school held a coming-of-age ceremony for all the senior students. Distinguished alumni, city leaders, and business representatives attended, including Liu Shichuan's father. Feng Yu, representing the outstanding students, spoke at the event, basking in glory. Even the mayor had heard of her helpful deeds and praised her ambition to delve into technology at such a young age, remarking, Feng Yu, you should exchange notes with another classmate of yours, learn from her experiences. Perhaps not everyone is aware yet, but Gu Xiangxiang, another student, has participated in an artificial intelligence project that has secured a major international deal, promising substantial tax contributions to our city. The principal was both shocked and delighted, but Feng Yu was visibly flustered. She couldn't understand how the deal was signed when she had smashed the robot and deleted all the core codes. During those days, I appeared distracted and lost, which made Feng Yu overly confident, thinking her destructive actions had dealt us a blow that couldn't be mended. But for researchers, backing up data is second nature. We had several spare robots built, and most of our codes were stored in the cloud. The data she stole was just a minor part, which wouldn't even operate properly without the rest. If only she had some technical knowledge, she would have realized this. Feng Yu, lacking in technical understanding, thought she was halfway into the business elite club. Each time she saw me, she mocked, worrying won't help you. Why is your professor so foolish? By the time you rewrite the codes, my company will be public. Why not just focus on preparing for your college entrance exams? You haven't practiced for 3 years. Getting into any college would be good enough. You'll never catch up to me in this lifetime. She even leaned in, half of her face close to mine, and taunted, you probably want to hit me, but dare you? I'm now the school's pride. Touch me, and the principal himself will send you to the police station. At the coming of age ceremony, the principal realized he had another student to be proud of. The mayor, smiling broadly, gestured to the audience. Gu Xiangxiang, please come to the podium. Miss Gu is usually very modest. Why don't you introduce your research project to us? How did you and your team develop such an impressive robot? After my introduction, the mayor looked even more impressed and asked if he could visit our lab. I regretfully informed him that might not be possible right now. Our robot has been maliciously damaged and will take a long time to repair. The mayor's expression turned serious. Who would dare do such a thing? We must strictly hold accountable anyone hindering technological progress. I handed a hard drive to a staff member, asking him to project a video. Feng face appeared on the large screen. All the students saw Feng violently smash the robot to the ground, breaking its legs, then crudely disassemble its arms with a screwdriver. She threw the disassembled parts out the window from a high floor. As she discarded the parts, she muttered, "Gu Xiangxiang, let's see how proud you can be now." Then she moved to the server, uploaded crucial data to her cloud, deleted the local codes, and formatted the machine. In the school auditorium, everyone witnessed Feng telling me in the lab, "It's useless to worry now. I've deleted the codes, and they can't be recovered, but I've already backed it up for you. Soon, I'll gather a few PhD students, form a new team, and publish this technology under my name. Do you think, given my relationship with Lu Shichuan, the Lu family would invest in me? Will the Lu family invest in me?" Feng Yu also said, "Gu Xiangxiang, I just don't like you. You dare to call the police. If you do, I'll stab her." The entire auditorium was in uproar when Feng Yu was vandalizing. She didn't realize that even if our robots were damaged, their eyes would faithfully record every move of the vandal. Our servers are connected to the internet, and Feng Yu's actions of modifying and stealing code were already logged by the back-end system and synced to the cloud. The video ended. Lu Shichuan's father sternly rebuked Feng Yu. "What is your relationship with Lu Shichuan? Has my Lu family recognized you? When did it become your turn to integrate the resources of my Lu family?" Feng Yu tried to flee to the audience, but was stopped halfway. The mayor, furious, said, "You know you've broken the law, and you still want to run, claiming to devote yourself to technology, yet what you actually did was steal others' achievements, such a young age and already a con artist in academia. Where is the principal? Did you call the police? You're letting a student who dares to wield a knife get away with it." The principal sincerely admitted his mistake and ordered his staff to call the police immediately. He acknowledged that the school had failed to notice Feng Yu's lack of morals. The school would immediately contact T University to withdraw Feng Yu's recommendation for enrollment. The high school graduation ceremony ended abruptly. The city leaders told me that they would definitely seek justice for me. The development of new productive forces in the country needs excellent teams and technologies like ours. I repeatedly thanked them and invited them to visit our lab soon to meet the other team members. Feng Yu glared at me viciously from the side. Several teachers stood around her, preventing her escape. Everyone just waited for the police to take her away. Her classmates who used to admire her now avoided her like a plague. Except for Hu Xueme, who came to see her. "Feng Yu, I've always wanted to thank you for reporting Mr. Li. I didn't have the courage to do it myself. Especially thank you for spending time tutoring me. My math grades have improved a lot this semester, all thanks to you." Feng Yu sighed, not sure to whom she was speaking. "It's a pity it's all useless now." Finally admitting it, Lu Shichuan appeared in front of her. "You said Gu Xiangxiang was jealous and bullying you. I even felt sorry for you at first, but you've been deceiving me all along. Gu Xiangxiang never saw you as a rival. It was you who were jealous of her, right? You schemed to get close to me, playing the victim, all for the resources of my family. Huh, Feng Yu, you really disgust me." Feng Yu watched him quietly, whispering, "No, I really did like you." Lu Shichuan disbelievingly responded, "I would never like someone like you, a rat from the sewers, comma. It has come to this, let's start over." Feng Yu suddenly broke free from the watch of two teachers, smashed the principal's porcelain cup on the corner of the table. She picked up a sharp shard, pressed it against my shoulder, aiming directly at my carotid artery, but she was no longer a match for me. I grabbed her wrist, twisted it hard, and the porcelain shard dropped. Tears streamed down her face from the pain. Several teachers rushed over, pinning her to the ground. "You still don't realize your mistake and want to commit more violence." Feng Yu lay on the ground, raising her neck stubbornly like a stranded fish. I crouched beside her. "There's no next round, just serve your time in prison, comma." I returned home, where my grandfather was watering the flowers at the door, and my grandmother made my favorite braised pork. Grandfather said to me, "Baby, don't overwork yourself. We don't ask you to stand out, just to be safe and happy." Grandfather's face was sunny and warm, bringing warmth to my life. After high school, I was recommended for admission to T University due to my outstanding research achievements, while Lu Shichuan went abroad to study. Feng Yu, guilty of stealing trade secrets and attempted murder, ended up in prison. Hu Xueme was admitted to a prestigious university one day in my freshman year. I and teacher Zhou Quan went to a factory in the suburbs of Beijing to discuss cooperation. Coming out, I unexpectedly saw Lu Shichuan waiting for me on the roadside. Yo, you're back in the country. He looked up, his eyes brimming with countless emotions. With the experience of my 2 lives, those eyes could never belong to an 18-year-old youth. I was rooted to the spot. Is it you? Have you come back too? Lu Shichuan asked me warmly. Do the words you said at my doorstep that year still count?